Welcome to DAX Machina. Join us as we explore the mysteries of this world. Cryptids, monsters, macabre tales, and horror stories abound. Could they be true? Are monsters real?
Good evening, folks, and thank you for joining us on another edition of DAX Machina. We're jumping in live tonight. I got Carrie Pocket Doc Davis, and my buddy Robbie Raines is joining us tonight. Steve will not be with us tonight. He's having family issues going on, so hopefully he'll get that sorted out. He said he might pop in later, and we're waiting on Anthony. He should be here shortly, so we're just bear with us a few minutes as everybody gets collected, and just kind of thought we'd jump in the middle of things and introduce the show and thank everybody for joining us. Looks like we got somebody new in the house tonight, joined us from the Netherlands. I saw that pop up a minute ago. Where was that at? Yeah, Jelmer van Kampen. Greetings from Holland, the Netherlands. That is awesome. Want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. We got a full house tonight. Doc, how the hell are you, brother?
Wyatt, I am rolling.
Robbie, how you doing tonight, brother?
I'm doing great, man. Nice warm southern weather.
We actually got a break from it. I mean, we were in triple digits all last week, and we had some rain come through, and it's like 70 degrees outside right now. I was like, man, I kind of wish I didn't have a show. I'd just be out in the yard.
Yeah, we didn't get the break from that. We had right before shift change, had a wreck happen. It was like 90 degrees, and it rained for like 5 seconds, so it turned it into a song.
Mercy. That's horrible.
That's usually what happens around here. It'll rain for all of 45 seconds, jack the humidity through the roof.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about what happened.
Yeah. Turns it into a song.
Oh, yeah. A sauna.
A sauna. I say that all the time, and people look at me like, what the hell are you talking about? And I'm like, y'all get it. Y'all get it.
All they got to do is watch Epic Mealtime.
There you go. Sausage.
Sausage.
My son always says it when we make homemade pasta. He goes, the sauce is the boss.
Muscles glasses.
Same thing with barbecue sauce. The sauce is the boss.
Sauce.
John Doe says, I technically got bit, but he's too small to penetrate the skin. Don't know what he was talking about there. I missed part of that.
Almost missed, dude.
Only defeating the snake. Oh, okay. Gotcha.
There's your first problem there, John. Why are you messing around with a damn danger noodle?
Snakes are food, not friends.
Freaking note rope, man. That's
right.
I was waiting on that one. The note rope.
There's only two kinds of snakes in this world. Kind of snake that'll kill you, kind of snake that'll make you kill yourself trying to get away from it.
Ugh. Lord have mercy.
Well, tonight we are going to be jumping in with a bunch of first-hand encounters. These are from the files of the Midwest Region 2 NADP. These are first-hand accounts, and we are going to read them pretty much as they're written. These aren't edited. I didn't go through and clean up any of the dialogue. We're going to read them as reported. The only thing I'm going to do is in the cases where a name has been mentioned, we are going to not mention the names because we don't have actual permission to use the name on the air, but the accounts were given to the NADP, so they're ours to use. So we'll be jumping into that here in just a minute. I was kind of waiting to see if Anthony was going to make it in, but he must be running a little later than I thought. So what do you guys think of the idea of just jumping in with this?
Let's light the fires and kick the tires, Big Daddy.
Well, who would like to start? Who'd like to play rock, paper, scissors to see who draws the short straw?
I'll do it, man. That's fine.
All right. Well, let me copy all this, and I will send it over to you. This is an account from here in Missouri, Doc, over in Pulaski County. I'm sending it to you pretty much as it is, so just make sure you gloss over any names.
All right. Gotcha. All right. Here it is. All right. First account of a sighting, Missouri, Pulaski County.
That's up right near Fort Leonard Wood for any of you guys that are wondering where the area is.
Fort Lost in the Woods.
That's right.
So date is unknown, and the gentleman says, or the person says, I don't know if it's a gentleman, sorry to assume their gender. I should start off explaining that my partner and I are experienced Bigfoot investigators who are in a unique situation as we have a family group living in our research area. Last October, during the full moon, my partner and I were on our hilltop, having quite a bit of success with two juveniles and one adult that we noticed. We could hear them walking in the leaf litter, and every once in a while, we would also hear a clack or wood knock from different directions. After a while, it seemed the feeling of fun for them dissipated and became a lot more cautious. So something must have picked up on the radar. My partner heard something to our north and went a ways down to investigate while I stayed by the camp to make sure it wasn't a diversion. He came back in a rush, and he said he had seen one of the young ones come out of the wood line running for the other side of the fire break, and what was following, he said he couldn't comprehend. It was about 6 feet tall with pointy ears and a long snout. Now, at this point, I have to say that neither of us have given any creed to the dogman, wolfman, grassman theory. We just thought it was a mistaken identification of a Bigfoot or a bear. I had purchased a 40 cal handgun and some hydroshock ammunition for it earlier that day, so it was in my vehicle. Great place for it to be. All right. Now, after my partner had explained what he had seen, I retrieved my weapon and loaded it. All the while, we could hear the two young ones chattering and the big one stomping all to our backside. They were really upset about something, and they had never acted that way with us. So I had my partner take me down the fire break where he saw this creature, and with spotlights, we scanned the area. We could hear something moving around, and after a few short growls, finally my partner caught it with a spotlight going between the trees, and what I witnessed is something I never would have dreamed of seeing except on a movie screen. A 6-foot wolf walking on its hind legs, triple exclamation points. I fired my weapon in the air, and it turned to the southeast into the woods. We cautiously made it on our way back to the camp, but we could hear the thing pacing us to our left. As we got back to camp, we kept listening to this thing approaching us from the woods. My partner turned on a spotlight, and I leveled my gun wherever the sound was coming from. It was approaching us without fear, and it felt to both of us like it was stalking us, as it was one of the juvies that we had witnessed. It came out from between the trees, and I shot it square in the ribs at about 20 yards. We measured it the next day, and I'm a very good shot. I saw the wound, and I know without a doubt I hit it. It fell to the ground, but immediately got up and ran to the southeast. We could hear it crash through the brush, and we never even heard it trip or fall or trip over something. Well, we continued to head in pretty much a southerly direction down the hill, paralleling the fire break. We were both freaked out by this time and broke camp and left. The next morning, I loaded up a few extra magazines, and we went back up to see if it died somewhere else or was just wounded. So we felt that we had to track it down. We did track it from the point of where I shot it all the way down the canyon, and even found where it had made such a ruckus when it fell. The leaf litter was all upended and was fairly easy to track. At one point, we did find a perfect canine track in the mud ridge, but it was over 8 inches across.
That's a big track.
That's a big track. The thing that absolutely baffled both of us was there was no blood trail. None. We both saw the bullet hit, yet no blood. Question mark, exclamation point. We tracked it all the way down to the canyon until we lost the trail. We talked to a Native American couple we know, and they said immediately, skinwalker. We contacted a few other investigators to try and figure out what in the hell happened. And I mentioned before that neither of us took any creed from any dogman reportings, but I do know that neither of us wants to ever experience that again, and I have never gone out in the woods unarmed since.
I wouldn't have gone unarmed in the first place.
That's a natural fact right there. All right. Thoughts, concerns, confusion. What you got?
Well, these guys obviously were, like they mentioned that they were Bigfoot researchers. So these guys obviously were experienced in looking for the weird in the woods, but they'd never seen anything like that. But the odd thing is that's not the only report I've heard from out of Pulaski County. I can't imagine they hadn't run into something like that before.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. So Pulaski County, how many sightings have you heard up in that area or heard from in that area?
The best one I heard, Doc, you've been to Leonard Wood, haven't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
The main entrance, Sverdrup Gate.
Yeah. Okay.
Right after they shut that down for 9/11, when they turned it into a checkpoint, because it used to be just an open gate, you could just drive through it.
Yeah.
But after 9/11, when they shut that down, I got a report from a guy who was working gate duty there in the middle of the night, and one approached the guard shack.
Man, good thing he was wearing camis, huh?
He said it just kind of walked up, looked at him, and turned and walked away. I said, "Did you report it?" He said, "Hell no, I didn't report it."
Now, for those of you who, let's do this to scale. All right, I got pretty big hands for a little fella. All right, my hands at the widest part are right at 5 inches across, from here to here. That's 8 inches. That's my hand. That's a big track. I've got a 110-pound German Shepherd laying down here right beside me.
That's what I was fixing to say. How big is Ranger's paw?
His paws are 3 inches. So right there. So you're talking something
massive,
that much bigger. That is huge.
That is a massive canine track.
Now, what I'd like to know is how deep the impressions were, because that would give us a good idea of possibly how much it weighed. You know, how long were the strides on the tracks, things like that. I'd be curious to know.
I wanted to reach out to the individuals that filed the report, but they didn't leave a contact email to reach them back. We just got the report through the NADP website, and it is what it is. Unfortunately, I can't I can't go back down and double down on it and find out how depth it was, or if they had any pictures, because they didn't leave a way to contact them.
Doc,
did you? I'm sorry, Robbie. Go ahead.
I didn't catch it. But when they at the tracks, did it say if the ground was dry, wet, anything like that, or?
Nothing I saw. That was the only thing in the account was he just said the leaves had been upended and all that area, and that's he was able to see that track. But
yeah, I mean, going to back to the impression stuff. I mean, if the ground was dry and it's real deep impression, and that's
a heavy animal.
Yeah, that's pretty heavy right there. Yeah. Did you send that on to Nick, BA?
I haven't sent that one to Nick because that's in my area, but I will see what he thinks of it.
Yeah, I'm curious to know what his thoughts were on that. So
yeah, one of these nights when we do more of these Dogman stories, I'll have him on.
That'd be cool. Now, I mean, if these boys were out hunting, and we've talked about this on previous shows, and Robbie, you may have heard this before too. We've heard that the Bigfoot and the Dogman, if they're in the same area, they have some possible animosity, and just like Challen just said, the Bigfoot seemed on edge because of the Dogman, which would explain their changed behavior. Like I said, side note, something must have picked up on the radar, because you're talking a bunch of apex predators here,
right?
And depending on what type of Bigfoot you got, I mean, if it's not a Guckwe, you're probably not going to have a Bigfoot that wants to mess with it.
Exactly.
Most dogmen.
Well, most predators don't want to have to fight for a meal.
Right.
I mean, they want an easier meal, because the problem is even with big predators, if you get wounded and you take a bad enough damage, you're dead. I mean, it's not like they can hobble over to a local veterinary clinic and get patched up.
Well, that's what turns a lot of animals into man eaters when they get, because
we're easier to kill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like John Doe just said, this is a good point he just made. Any pair of apex predators will almost always inherently be in conflict. I concur with that 100%, because these cats are both on top of the food chain, but they're like, hey, this ain't the fight we want. We're out here just digging for some roots and berries and grubs and stealing some chickens and getting rabbits or whatever.
Now, John Doe's got a good point. Says any wound which impairs your ability to hunt will functionally kill you.
Yeah, you're no longer combat effective at that point. So
that's why you hear stories of older animals like older bears or mountain lions attacking people, because we're a much easier prey.
Right. Well, I mean,
especially if we're unarmed.
I mean, let's look at the two-legged varmints that y'all have seen in law enforcement, and I've seen from all the experience. What do they look for? They look for soft targets.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
The easiest target they can get is the one they're going to get. And those squatch might have been going, not today, and so they were unassing the AO and saying, hey, we're not gonna fight this, because I mean, let's be honest, from everything I've heard and read on those types of predators, they are 100% killing machines.
Northwoods Cryptid says, if I ever see a Dogman, I'll be out of ammo rather quickly.
Yeah, same. Hey,
Yep.
man, I got to go let the dog out. I'll be right back.
All right, no problem.
You still get some GI distress. I'll be right back. Talk amongst yourselves.
Discuss.
So what do you think of that one, Robbie?
I mean, the only thing that kind of sits off with me is no blood.
Right. He said he hit it with a 40 cal.
I mean, that's not a small round. That's not a play around round. That's going to do some damage. So,
and the report says it came out in between the trees, and I shot it square in the ribs at about 20 yards. We measured the next day, and I'm a very good shot.
well,
I saw the wound.
At 20 yards. I mean, you still got a very good chance of hitting something vital.
He said he saw the wound, and so I saw the wound, and no, without a doubt, I hit it. It fell to the ground, but immediately got up and ran to the southeast.
Well, that to me, that we've had the discussion, you and I, about what's more Hollywoodized. That's even a word, but you know what I'm talking about,
Right? Exactly.
Versus what's a real animal. But what else is out there as far as that we don't really know? People have seen Dogman, like Beast of Bray Road, all that kind of stuff. That we pretty much figure that's a regular animal. It's just like we talked about maybe an offshoot of a dire wolf or something like that. But something like that kind of makes your hair stand up and think, how far off are the stories that we've heard? And we talked about it. Everything's got a basis in some type of truth or reality.
Right. Well, I've seen glancing blows. I knew a guy that took a grazing round to his body armor, and you could see the hit, but it didn't really do any damage. It just spun him. So I'm wondering. He said he saw the hit to the ribs and it dropped, but I wondered if it was just like a glancing blow. I mean, he might have saw the hair fluff out, but no real damage.
I may be reading too much into it, but that's the part that sticks in my mind of.
Josh Dalton says, how would you say the high temperature in the country over the last week or so would affect their temperament? Well, I would definitely say it'd keep them closer to water. I mean, everything knows you got to hydrate to stay alive. But it would probably also make them more irritable. I mean, if I lived out in the woods without an air conditioner and I was covered in hair, I'd probably be pissed off all the time too.
Yeah, we hate life.
You wouldn't see much. I probably wouldn't see them much during the day. They'd probably find some place cool, like a cave, to stay during the day, then hunt at night. But then again, most of the encounter stories you hear are either at dusk, dawn, or during the night.
Well, I mean, you got to look at the known predators that we see. I mean, lions on the Serengeti. They aren't. I mean, they're laying around under a shade of a tree during weather like this. I mean,
and it gets hot there. Doyle Thorne had a good point. He said, without an exit wound, the hair and hide could effectively plug a 40 caliber hole.
That's true.
Yeah, it the blood might have matted in the fur.
Yeah, and depending on how dense the fur was.
So it's entirely possible he still hit it, but didn't do enough significant arterial bleed to leave a blood trail. I mean, I've known guys that have hit a deer with a 5.56 and found very little, if any, blood to follow.
Well, that's true. I've used core-locked ammunition before, and one time we'll never use it again because it doesn't do enough damage going in. Doc, you can probably speak on stuff like that.
Yeah, and I heard y'all talking as I was bringing him in. Man, crisis averted. Holy crap! Literally,
crisis number 2.
Bless his heart. He's not feeling good.
Were you feeding him Taco Bell?
He might have been. I don't know. He might have been some cat treats out there in the yard from some barn cats. On the ballistic side, I have actually seen X-rays of a 40 cal gold dot. No, it was a golden saber, Remington golden saber 40 cal that actually impacted a guy's sternum. I mean, it was a good shot, center mass, but it hit his sternum and completely mushroomed and was literally stuck in the dude's sternum. So just because, I mean, there was actually on the patient, minimal blood loss. There was minimal blood because it was more of a superficial wound. So just because you may get a big hit I mean, let's think about it. I mean, this is a big critter. This is a big critter, and they can take a lot of punishment. So it could have dissipated its terminal energy real quick and just mushroomed, opened up, and nothing happened. Or if it was a full metal jacket, it could have just punched right through with minimal, or lodged and stopped inside the mass of that muscle. So a lot of different stuff. A lot of different stuff can happen. Bullets do weird crap.
Well, it's like my British 303 that I've taken deer hunting so many times. If you've got the soft tip, the soft tip rounds, the snub, well, the flat tip, soft nose, they do a hell of a lot more damage than the solid slugs.
Yeah. Well,
I'll punch clean through with a solid slug, but that soft nose will do some damage.
Absolutely, and that's some of the things we've seen in battlefield injuries. You know, if a bullet does its job, it's not going to exit. It's going to dump 100% of its terminal energy inside the target. That's what they're designed to do. If it exits through the hey, what's up, Anthony? Nice shirt. If it exits through the target, then it's only spent about 30% of its energy inside creating a wound channel, and then the other 70% is to push on through that target. So a lot of different stuff, man.
Yeah, the variable would be what type of ammo were they using? Was it ball ammo? Was it hollow point ammo?
Right. Well, and John Doe even said saying it was hitting the ribs brings to mind that could have been simply lodged in a rib bone. Yeah.
Or glanced off a rib.
Glanced off. I've seen bullets track around ribs. They hit a rib, track around. I've seen people shot right dead between the running lights. And Robbie, you may have too. DA and Anthony, y'all may have too. I've seen people hit right between the running light, and it goes over the scalp or around the scalp. Right under, just tracks.
Saw that happen with a 22. Kid took a glancing shot on the forehead, and it just basically followed the skin around, and they had to cut it out from the back of his head. Didn't punch the bone, just tracked around.
Exactly. You know,
saw that with a 45 one time in an attempted suicide. Went like right in here, and it hit the eye bone, and it bounced inside around, and I think it went through his eye. I can't remember, but then it just followed on around the skull and went out the back.
Yeah, I've seen the same thing too. They wake up with a hell of a headache and call 911. You know, we had a call like that, and they was like, "Hey, we got a GSW to the head. They're alert and oriented ×4," and we were all like, "What?" You know, and that's exactly what happened. And Tammy Lamb just asked a good question: should you try to shoot in the eye if attacks? Tammy, that's a great spot to hit, but how well? That's some extreme marksmanship right there to be able to hit something like that. One, moving, and two, you're probably going to be shaking like a dog crap in the peach pit. Number two, and number three, under that stress, even if you're shooting knots like this, your accuracy degrades 40 to 50%. So the chances of you hitting it, and if you hit something in a heavily boned face like that, think of it like a helmet. It may, like we were talking about, it may glance off, and you may end up with just a very, very angry cryptid. So, a lot of stuff to think about.
Definitely. Let's see. Ralph Master 23 says also occurs with swords and other bladed weapons with Skullagrams weapons testing. Cool.
Okay.
Stalking, the guy on YouTube that tests weapons.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about now. I was wondering, thinking about that one for a minute. Yeah, there's a lot of possibilities that could have caused that wound not to leave a lot of blood. Ammo is a factor. Shot placement's a factor. There's all kinds of things we'd have to take into consideration. But they did track it, and that 8-inch print gives me some pause. No pun intended.
I mean, yeah, and I'm wondering
half a second, DA.
I'm wondering, was it 8 inches? I couldn't remember if it was 8 inches across or 8 inches long.
He said 8 inches wide is what he said.
Okay, 8 inches wide. Okay, that's
a big track.
That's freaking massive, dude.
On what? It was a Dogman?
Yeah.
In
Pulaski County here in Missouri.
I'll send you, Anthony. I'll copy and paste it and send it on your messenger, man.
All right. Yeah, I just got done with the. Sorry, I'm late. I had the memorial today in fiasco, total fiasco with family. So.
I'm sorry, brother.
Yeah.
Sorry, man.
I came home and passed out, and I didn't realize what time it was. I was so aggravated today. I texted DA when I got home. I was like, all right, I'm home. Make sure, let him know I'm not in jail. So, and I just laid down for a little bit. And it was just a fiasco with family. You know how that goes with family and stuff. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
just
man.
done with it.
Well, we're thinking about you, brother, for sure.
Yeah, definitely, brother.
Appreciate it. Yeah. So now the next step in life, now everything's going to be done. So now we have to go to the next chapter now. So we'll see. Yeah.
It's a process, man. That's
Oh,
for
I
sure.
know. I know.
It's a process.
It's a sucky one, but I know.
Yeah, I hear you, man.
How's Steve doing? Has anybody heard from Steve? How's he doing?
Talk to Steve. I'll tell you more about it once we're off the air tonight. Yeah, he's not going to be here tonight. If he does, he said he might pop in late, but they're dealing with some stuff.
Okay.
What was I going to say? I was going to say something else. I think that's about all I can think of to talk about on that story, Doc.
That's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a monster track.
That's a huge track. That's a. I mean, and like you said, I don't go out in the woods armed. I mean, again, I'm like you said, I don't ever go out in the woods without a gun.
That's a fact.
You know, I mean,
that is an absolute fact.
Because you don't ever know what you're going to come across. You know,
right?
I used to take my dog outside without a gun.
Yeah,
outside my house.
Yeah, and it's like, and in the house, I have them strategically located. You know, I mean, it's like my wife when we were out and about, going somewhere. She's like, you got you're carrying, right? I said, I got my britches on, Donna. So
do I have my wallet on me? Come on, really?
Hey, if I got my britches on, it's on. So yeah, it's something we got to think about. Being prepared, like we talk about med kits, firearms, whatever. Because hope is a very poor strategy.
Sic vis pacem parabellum.
Mm-hmm.
If you want peace, prepare for war.
Absolutely. Amen to
that. Robbie, you want to go ahead and jump in on the next story?
Sure. Let me pull her back up here. All right. This one is from Pike County. Submitted by eyewitnesses blank. Says, I'm from Pike County, Missouri. I live about 6 miles north of the 1972 Momo sightings. I believe that's...
Yeah, Momo the monster near Louisiana, Missouri.
That was... They did a Netflix documentary about that one.
It's a pretty good documentary, too.
Yeah. I know most of the people involved in those sightings personally. I've had encounters myself with something here in the woods. With that being said, I do not believe Momo is a Sasquatch. One of my experiences leads me to believe it's a Dogman or something else. Excuse me, a Dogman or something else. The last encounter I had with what I seen came out. Sorry, this is not exactly edited correctly.
Yeah, I just left them exactly the way they were.
So, plus reading on this small screen on my phone, my eyes are not that great. Said, I don't believe it's a Sasquatch. I believe it's something else, a Dogman or something else. The last encounter I had with what I seen on all fours, me and my friend, who is no longer with us, were spending a lot of time in the woods that year wildcrafting, picking sassafras, walnut leaves, etc. We kept having weird things we couldn't explain happen to us. A strange whistling 6 or 7 hoot owls calling us from the same tree, rocks being thrown at us, something walking in the woods near us. We started putting light bars on everything and using very bright lights at night. There was never anything there at night when we were out in the dark. When we walked, it walked. When we stopped, it stopped. We are country boys and familiar with the woods at night. A raccoon or a possum will walk almost up to you in the dark. Then when it realizes you're there, it'll scurry away. Very predictable. A deer will walk up when it realizes you are there and run away in the dark, crashing into everything. But anytime this happens, this was not the case. we would click on the lights and nothing would be there. And it finally culminated with the winter night we seen it. We were sitting on DuPont Conservation Area, what used to be the EI DuPont Demores powder plant. Did I get that right?
I think so.
With
Yeah.
that? Vehicles
I'd have,
parked at. I'm sorry, what?
I was just saying I was going to have to read it, but
Yeah, it just says EI DuPont Conservation Area. Then it says what used to be EI Demores powder plant. Vehicles parked after cutting a load of wood in the dark, lights off, actually trying to entice a response, copying the strange whistling sounds we had heard that year and had heard never before then. I apologize for this. I'm reading it exactly as it's written.
Oh yeah, I didn't edit any of them.
When my friend Don said, "What's that?" he clicked on his spotlight, which was the old style yellow light, and shined it around 65 to 75 yards down the parking lot, and there was an animal, which at first glance, because of it being on all fours, I said it's a coyote, and reached in my window of my truck to grab my light, which is a bright LED light. I had put on an 18-volt DeWalt battery, and as I do, Don says, "That's no effing yote." I turned around, shined my light on it. It was walking from left to right across the road, slowly on all fours, slinking or kind of slithering, for lack of a better description, like kind of cocky. I'm like, "Don, WTF is that?" And it looked at us. Now it was the ugliest. I don't even know what that one is, but ugliest thing I'd ever seen, and seemed to have a mangy like mane, almost like dreadlocks. The rest of the body was covered in short hair, and the eyes glowed reddish, but changed because of the different type of lights that we were using. Well, now I'm freaked out, so I reach back in the window and grab my pistol off the dash, and as I turn back around, it takes off running on two legs into the woods, and I mean fast. We followed it with a light, and where it ran to is a 2 foot or so drop. It raised down or went down off the road into the wooded floodplain. So my guess is now on 2 feet. This thing is 7 to 8 feet tall. Realizing we couldn't explain it, and it is what it is. Had to be, or what it is had to be stalking us in the woods all those times. We bailed back to my house. I talked to some friends from out of town that were camping at the campground that night, telling them about it, in quotation marks, not trying to sound crazy. They told me that earlier that night there was strange, loud, eerie growling that they had not heard earlier that night. A few months later, I too heard the loud, eerie growling. A few people also in the months surrounding this heard it as well. About a year later, I took my full-grown German Shepherd to the spot where it came walking across the road, had him stay there in the spot on the road where I'd seen it, and then went and sat where we were parked. In the daylight, he was tiny compared to what we had seen. It had to be twice the size of him. But to be honest, a very similar shape in the road into what we had seen, and would probably look very similar if my dog was twice the size and ran on two legs. We live in a town of around 30 people and are now surrounded by a forest, oxbow swamps and river bluffs, tall hills and deep hollers, and old farm fields, and three conservation areas totaling about 10,000 to 12,000 acres. And that's not including all the private land that's around. It was a big deal at the time. I believe it was 2018 or 2017. My friend has recently passed on, and I'm the only one who can share the story now. I tried to convince myself I was crazy because then what I had seen wouldn't have been real. Sadly, I'm not. And it's real. Sorry if I jumped around a lot. It was a lot to type in one post. Well, that's one of my encounters. So I don't know. Devil monkey, dogman, skinwalker, Momo, whatever it is, it has an evil feel to it, and the atmosphere seemed to change whenever it was near. I'm still scared when I deer hunt and carry lights religiously, and I don't let the kids wander very far at night.
I can't say that I blame him. You said that was Pike County, Missouri?
Yes, Pike County.
That's up north of St. Louis, up near Hannibal, and there are a lot of dogman sightings around the Hannibal area. They refer to it as the Hound of Hannibal.
I think I've heard that, or heard of that.
Mm-hmm. That area is pretty woolly.
Yeah, Missouri sounds like it's kind of a hotbed for dogman stuff, man. Seriously.
The bulk of, if you look at the NADP sighting reports, the bulk of dogman sightings come from Midwest. My region has more dogman sightings than any other region in the U.S.
Wow.
And in some of the cases, more than a couple of them combined.
Well, what about Joe Bald? I mean, that's like you said, those reports you had read that there were animal attacks, and then all of a sudden the reports are going like a fart in the wind. You know what I mean?
Right. You can't find any of that now.
I mean, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah. And as you know, if you look at we'll just refer to them as the itinerant population, homeless people, any of them going missing is probably not going to get reported.
Right.
Robert Sharp says, don't forget Kentucky. Yeah, Kentucky has a lot of dogman sightings. Kentucky, Tennessee, and not just in LBL. They're pretty common throughout the state.
Yeah, I'm heading back to West Virginia this coming month. I'm gonna ask those folks when I'm out there about that, just to see if they've heard anything up there. I mean, because that's where I teach classes. I mean, that's a very mountainous, rugged, hilly area, so a lot of woods. So somebody's bound to see something.
And a lot of people think about it, but Michigan dogman, if people think Michigan, Detroit, things like that, but that's a really, really popular area.
There's a lot of Michigan that's extremely rural. I mean, people, when you hear it say Michigan, they think Detroit, but it's not all just a big city. There's some really heavily wooded parts of that.
Yeah, I mean, where I teach classes up North Michigan, near Chase, Michigan, they call it the Northern Woods. And that's all it is. It's miles and miles of snowmobile and ATV trails and woods as far as you can see. And so woods and lakes. So you got plenty of habitat there for pretty much anything.
It's the same thing as up New York. Everybody thinks New York is Manhattan, and you go to upstate New York, and it's nothing but mountains and everything. Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. You go up to Peekskills, the Catskills, whatever. All those there. We flew up to a place called Scotia. You ever heard of Scotia? Up near Schenectady.
Nowhere. Yeah, the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, we did a training mission up there, man. We were out in East BFE. We might not have been in East BFE, but you could see it from there.
Yeah.
Very wooded.
Yeah, they don't realize that shit. They don't realize that, though.
Pine Box Tail says, DA, I get reports a lot from old coal regions. I would love to hear those if you don't mind forwarding them to me. You can send them to my email address, which is daroberts@daroberts.net. I'd love to check those reports out.
Yeah, I would too. I'd like to see those.
I'm surprised at chat. We don't have any bots jumping in.
Well, give it time.
But since you brought it up, Anthony.
Yeah, he'll probably showing up.
No.
Well, and somebody brought it up in here. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if there were sightings or reports from pretty much every state in the continental United States, and I wouldn't be either, because we focus a lot on the cryptid. In the cryptid community, it's all about Bigfoot, but I mean that's why they call them cryptids, because they know how to hide.
Yeah.
So there's other stuff out there, and to be quite frank, I mean I think anything else is pretty naive.
I haven't heard anything from Florida. I mean, really. I mean, maybe one case from Florida. I mean, nothing big here, I guess, where I'm at, but
yeah.
Northwoods Cryptid says there's some dogman sightings in Michigan in the county I'm in, plus surrounding counties.
Yeah, I think he's from up in that area where I go teach up near Chase and Luther. Up in the, that's why I said they call him the North Woods, and that's his handles, North Woods Cryptid. So, yeah, I wouldn't mind hanging out there a few extra days and going out in the woods up there and seeing what we could see.
Which I'd like to go with you. That would be freaking awesome.
I mean, I'm heading up there. Mid-September. I'll be up there a week. So
September might be bad. I've got shows booked for September.
Okay.
September might be bad.
Maybe I can hook up with Northwoods Cryptid. Me and him can go look at some stuff. That'd be interesting.
Shoot lots of video.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because my thermal also you can take stills and video with it.
Awesome,
which is nice.
In Pennsylvania, yeah, I've heard of reports in Pennsylvania about them being up there. Like you said, I think it was what Doc said, more mountain region area, more.
Well, and look what Monster Radio just put up. It's definitely interesting how there's more encounters where there seem to be rock formations. If they're interdimensional, rock formations might be a source of energy. Yeah, I mean granite has a lot of energy to it. So I don't know.
Or just the fact where there's rock formations, there's caves.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, Robbie. Yep, right there. Sit down, dude.
Now I was watching the thing today, on YouTube. It was about this guy. You guys ever watched the Sean Ryan show?
I have not.
The former Navy SEAL. He has a podcast, and he had a guy on that was he was a former CIA operative. And you guys ever heard of the Cuban effect?
No.
Okay. What made me think about all this is about the infrasound and all this. There was 3 governments working on a microwave weapon. It was the United States, China, and Russia. And all these top people from the CIA and the cabinet members of the House were getting hit with, and a lot of operatives that were stationed over in the embassy in Cuba, and they were getting hit with this microwave stuff that was hitting them, was making them sick, headaches. Well, this guy was on, he was a CIA operative, and he was talking about it. And he mentioned it was almost like getting hit with infrasound. And this thing would devastate you, give you headaches, make you dizzy, throw up. And it's a handheld weapon. It's like this big that they actually designed. And they were shooting it at these people that worked in our government, that they took these people out. Didn't take them out to kill them, just to make them sick, that they're having nothing but medical problems now and everything. And that's what made me think of the infrasound with these, creatures and everything. Then I'm like, maybe it isn't the creatures that are doing it. Maybe it's the government doing it. That, because some of these guys are going into these areas out in Palm Beach or wherever they're going, and they're getting sick. They're getting hit with this stuff, and it's like making them dizzy and throw up and headaches and everything.
Yeah, didn't they originally design that for riot control stuff, Anthony?
Yeah, but it's called a microwave weapon.
Yeah, it makes people throw up and all kinds of stuff.
That show we were talking about last time you and I were on, Doc, the Skinwalker Ranch. They talk about that a little bit because they were looking for microwaves out there, and they talk about when they got near a cave and he put his hand on them, he started feeling nauseous and sick and all that stuff. And that they said, they looked at the whatever instrument they had out there reading it, said that it was up to almost a dangerous level, and that's probably what was causing it.
Yeah, and the guy, the CIA operative, even said, he goes off record when he spoke to the head of the CIA. Off record, he goes, "Yeah, they're real. It's real." But on record, he won't admit it. And he was telling Sean Ryan this, and he has a book out. I got to send you guys the link. It was pretty crazy shit that they were talking about on his show. It was just nuts, and I'm like, that's like infrasound, almost like. It's almost like infrasound what they're talking about. Yeah, the police used it. Yeah.
This is an interesting comment from George Jennings on talking about that kind of stuff too. He's been listening to his police scanner. The Pennsylvania State Troopers have been going rounds with a rather larger animal on 2 legs.
Oh, I'd like.
Interesting.
I hope he's recording that scanner.
I was just about to say that. You should have recorded that.
That's never going to get made public.
No.
Love to see that dash cam.
Yes, very much so.
It's not working.
Yeah, let's see the call reports and see what came of that. You know, I'm curious. That's interesting.
My sister always had this scanner running in her house, just like constantly. And my nephew, he's a couple of years younger than me. He was a firefighter, and when I was still a deputy sheriff, we were at her house for Thanksgiving one year, and I was off duty, and I wasn't even in my county, and Randy was off duty, and we're all sitting around eating, and all of a sudden the scanner tones out, and him and I just both bolt. And he looks at me and he goes, "Where the hell are you going?" I'm like, "I don't know. Where are you going?" I'm like, "We turn that damn scanner off."
He said he did. I guess George is recording it. He goes, "I am."
Awesome.
So,
I'd like, yeah, if you could send an audio file over, I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, that'd be interesting, George. If you could send that over, man, if you got it,
that would be freaking cool. There's no denying it if they got it recorded.
Right. Well, it's like Monster Radio just said. Police will usually use code for them: black dog, dogman, black cow, Bigfoot. Black dog equals dogman, black cow equals Bigfoot. That's kind of interesting. I never have heard that either. Maybe it's in areas where sightings are more common,
more prevalent.
Place they actually have to have a code for them.
Yeah, I thought black dog was a trucker thing. Like,
yeah, I did see the black dog.
It is. It is. It's an infamous dog that I guess when you see it, you're going to die or something in the middle of the highway. I don't know.
Yeah, like an omen.
Yeah.
I don't see any black dog anytime. Ever.
You boys ready for the next one?
Let's do it, man.
Well, this one comes out of Christian County, Illinois. If I remember correctly, Christian County, Illinois is up near Springfield, Illinois, I believe. This account comes from 1991. It says, a friend of mine had moved south to work with his uncle. Things didn't work out, so he called and wanted to know if I'd pick him up at the bus station in Springfield. I told him sure. The day he came back, his bus wasn't due until 1:30 a.m. When it showed up, he was starving, so we headed up the road to a Steak and Shake. If you guys aren't from the Midwest, you may not know what Steak and Shake is.
We got them here. We got them in Florida. So, I know exactly what they were.
We had a couple
we call them mistaken shakes. If the burger had gone one more pass across the meat cutter, you could read through it.
Yeah.
Anyway, it says, while we were eating, some girls showed up after a night of partying. We stayed around and talked with them for a while. Well, by the time we left, Brian wanted to see if we could swing by one of his old girlfriend's houses before she went off to work. He wanted to see if he could stay with her for a while. I didn't have anything to do the next day, so I told him that'd be fine. She lived in Assumption. To get there, we headed back up to Taylorville. Then instead of heading on to Pana, where I lived, we would cut across through the country to get to Assumption. To do this, you have to go through Bertinelli Lake. At that time, they just started developing the place for housing, so it was semi-rural with woods around the lake and the road we were on. So So here we are driving and just about to cross the bridge when this huge canine type thing comes running out of the woods to our right. They were good-sized, freshly dug ditches on each side of the highway. This thing jumped from the bottom of the right ditch, cleared the highway, and landed on the back side of the left ditch. Then it ran off into the woods. It happened so fast I didn't even have time to hit the brakes before it was already gone. I know some would say it was just a dog. That surprised us, but we both agreed it was too big. Besides, I don't know of any dogs that can jump that far. I remember it had gray and light brown fur. It was very bulky and muscular. It was also on all fours. We decided that we didn't need to hang around the area and sped up. We told our friends, but most just laughed it off. Whatever, we both knew what we had saw. Years later, I was looking on the BFRO website. I saw where there were 2 sightings reported that took place about a mile to the east from where our encounter happened. When I first read of the woman's report years ago, she said it took off running on all fours and was wolf-like. I see now someone has changed her story to sound more like a Bigfoot. However, her sighting and another reported after her says that this was where Highway 48 crosses the South Fork of the Sangamon River. Follow the river back east until you see Lincoln Trail Road. This is the bridge we were at. It seems like it uses the river bottom to stay hidden. Also, there are all kinds of housing additions there now. I went to their community-wide garage sales there a few times. It seems as though a lot of cats and dogs go missing in that area. Posters were up everywhere. Well, I know it was a little long-winded, but that was my encounter.
Huh. Okay.
That's a lot of strength and a lot of size and speed to clear a highway.
Yes, it does. That thing had to been moving.
Ditch to ditch.
Huh.
That's
Yeah,
big.
across two lanes of highway. That's a pretty hellacious jump.
Yeah.
Yeah, you figure a standard lane is what, 4 feet wide?
Yeah.
It's wider than that. I think
A little bit wider than that.
it's got to be 6 to 7 feet. The width of an average car is pretty wide.
Look at the size of a regular vehicle, man. I mean, a regular vehicle is going to be close to 6 foot. This,
Mhm.
I'd say, probably what, 8 foot across.
On both lanes.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's a Scotland double lane right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's terrifying to drive over there. But I don't know, man. You're probably talking 16 to 20 foot across. I mean, I think we might underestimate it just because we see it from a limited perspective. I mean, if you're walking that sucker across, it's got to be a good 16, 20 foot across.
Unless you're up in the mountains somewhere and it's only 3 foot wide on a mountain where you're driving and you pump.
Might even be wider if it had shoulders.
If it had shoulders, absolutely. And,
if it's just a blacktop that ends right at the dirt, then easily 20, 25 foot jump.
Rob will tell you that where he lives. I guarantee you where he lives, they got some roads up there in the mountains that'll make your asshole pucker when you're driving.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Werewolf 5674 says 1 lane by DOT is 8 feet.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Okay, so you're talking 16 foot plus, let's say, a 4 foot shoulder on each side. That's 24 foot.
Oh,
Ralph Master 23 says can't mountain lions jump 40 feet?
Yeah.
Well, if it was, that's mainly especially a muscular animal, that may not be that big of a jump.
Yeah, I've seen whitetail come across 2 lanes.
Yeah, me too. I've seen them jump it.
Come out of a big bar pit, like out of a ditch and clearing 2 lanes.
Look at that one guy. Did you ever see that YouTube video? The guy's driving in, I think it's Canada. That one elk that wanted to go clear the road jumped right over his car, the hood of his car, and kept going. He was like, he couldn't believe it was a whole herd of elk, and they just kept clearing the car. He was like dumbfounded.
It's definitely plausible for sure.
I blew around a corner one time on my motorcycle back. This would have been early 90s, and rounded a corner, and there were like 6 deer in the road. So I just ducked down and laid on my horn, praying I wasn't going to hit one. Well, they scattered, and a buck jumped over me.
Yeah.
I felt its hooves hit my helmet as I went under it. I was like, "Oh God!"
Think about how many videos you've watched of deer foraging, walking around in the woods, and walk up to a fence line. It's like a 6 or 7 foot fence line, and just stand there, look at it, and just
right over it.
Like it's nothing.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah. I mean, that happens. That happens on a regular.
Yeah,
So I
I've
mean,
seen a Florida panther clear a 12-foot fence, a 12-foot game fence.
Gotta love Sentinel. On a good day, I can jump up on a curb.
I think that's all of us now.
Yeah, I'm right there with you.
Man, I have trouble jumping out of bed in the morning. Good Lord.
Yeah.
On a good day, I can fall off a curve.
Oh yeah, I'm right there with you. I can easily fall off one. I don't know about jumping up on one.
Now he said the fur on that thing. He said the fur was grayish colored. Yes.
Gray with tan.
Yeah.
I don't know. Are there any wolves up there in that area?
I don't know. I'm not familiar with the wildlife management in Illinois. I don't go over there very often.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if there is. Look at all the stuff that's coming out now. All these grizzlies come down from up north, and it wouldn't surprise me if it's down that far.
Yeah, me either. That's interesting. All right, what we got next, DA?
I just sent you one.
All right. So I'm on deck. All right, here we go. All right, this is from the great state of Iowa, Lynn County.
Did you know Iowa's an acronym?
What's it stand for?
It stands for idiots out wandering around. You ever get stuck behind one in traffic, you'll know exactly what I mean.
Don't take it. No, anybody in chat, please don't take offense to that, please.
Hey, I'm from Missouri. We make fun of everybody,
It's
especially
just a joke.
ourselves.
Well, I mean, y'all ought to make fun. I mean, there's a place in Missouri when my brothers went to school in Iowa. They went to chiropractic college up in Iowa, and in Davenport, they were lovingly referred to it as Davenpit. But there was a place we were driving through Missouri, and of course I was like 15, and I started chuckling to myself. There's a place in Missouri called Cooter, Missouri.
Oh yeah.
Serious?
I was like, holy crap! All right,
Yeah,
here we go. Next one, Iowa, Linn County, Linn County. This comes from 1 July 2014. I was on patrol as a deputy sheriff for the county and was usually assigned to Highway 13 and Highway 30 corridors. However, I recall that particular July 1st that a young man, 16 or 17 years old, had been sucked into a storm drain which emptied into Cedar Lake near the Quaker Oats plant. This is a place with heavy foot traffic and located in an urban setting. The area is also bordered by Mohawk Park. As the search went on into the night, the local PD got the county involved. I parked my cruiser, what I believe was the electric company storage yard, and the yard had what I estimated to be a 10-foot fence that ran parallel to a paved bike trail on the other side, of which runs a large concrete spillway to siphon off floodwaters. I arrived at what I estimate to be roughly 11:30 to 11:45 p.m. I estimate only because I assure you there never was nor will be an official statement or record with my name on it telling this story. As I left the lot, I was at the north end of the lake and headed west on foot. There was a lot of brush and saplings between the spillway and trail, so I proceeded on to the point the trail turns south, near where Cedar Lake empties into the Cedar River onto the railroad tracks leading into the Quaker Oats plant. There are multiple tracks at the turn. I mentioned before, and the only track furthest from myself had a train on it. Okay, so with the attention on the spillway, I hardly noticed at first a faint red colored light a distance north from my position. It was coming down the track on the other side of the train. I had thought it perhaps the tail lights of a car. Not being from that patrol route, I had no knowledge that there was, in fact, no road in that direction. There ain't much things in the world that scare me, but simply put, I've seen some shit in my effing days, but nothing prepared me for that night. The lights disappeared, and that was that, or so I figured. About 5 minutes passed before I hear a snorting, almost sniffing sound coming from the other side of the tracks. When I turned, the first thing I saw were the eyes. They glowed a dull red. The thing was at least 8 feet tall, pushing 450 pounds. I judge this by the fact that I'm 6'4" and weigh 280. I turned my light, and to this day, I wish I hadn't. It had pointed ears and a long muzzle, and it looked right into my face before it bolted in the timber. It was not a mask, and it was not a person in costume. Who would walk up on an armed man with a police radio and full uniform and risk getting shot? I remember it was surreal. So final, I guess. I know that what's in the dark now. People can say or think what they want, but even with a chambered round and a full magazine and Glock 40, I didn't feel like I had enough firepower. I unholstered and fell back toward the trail into the electric company storage yard. Putting the fence to my back, I made a hasty retreat to the lot where my cruiser was. I don't think I holstered my pistol till I got out of the park. I never spoke of it then, and honestly don't know why I am now, but one thing is for certain, it knew I was there, and it was watching my every move. I'll never go back, and I no longer work with the department since I became a minister, but I still carry a Glock with hollow point rounds, tipped with silver, and I rarely do leave my home at night.
Sounds like a Stephen King movie.
Yeah, I wonder if he had brown uniform pants. If not, he did then.
Yeah.
The Hardy Boys meet Reverend Werewolf.
I mean, the last thing you want to see when you turn your freaking your mag light or stream light or whatever it is on something is something like that.
No kidding.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's
I think I'd have been backpedaling too.
Yeah, he did the best thing he could have done. That was a tactical retreat at that point.
Well, it sounds like from his description, he's not a small guy. And for him to estimate that was that much larger than him, I would have been like, yep, it is time to go. Look at the time.
It's time to get the hell out of here.
It's a quarter past leaving.
Yeah, exactly.
Now he's a minister. He left the police department. He left the highway patrol. So
I tell you what, it must have scared him something fierce to see something like that. But I mean, let's be honest, man. And Anthony, you will attest to this. Is seeing something like that not a life-changing experience?
Yeah, it is. After like I said, I used to make fun of people all the time. I'd laugh about it. Now when people tell stories, I mean, there's some stories you got to look at and go, "Come on,"
some of you right. Flag, But
I mean, you'll know when someone's telling you the truth. They get real. Like DA said, Fred. When Fred was telling his story, man, he was shaking.
Exactly. Case in blast. That was the example I was going to use. When Fred tells his story, he relives that every single time. When Jesus was telling his encounters, I mean, he relives that every single time.
And the fact that this guy was law enforcement and now is a preacher, to me that gives some pretty good credibility to it. Now, not that necessarily, those two professions put them above reproach or anything like that, but the fact that he was a law enforcement officer and then answered the calling to become a preacher, I would think he would not lie about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
and it's like Raftmaster 23 said, Q and Monty Python, run away. Yeah, it's time to bravely run away. That's for sure.
Yeah, it changes you for sure, man. It's like you go out in the I go out in the woods now. I look behind I'm always like, it's stupid, but I'm like on high alert. Before I was just like, there's nothing out here that's going to hurt me. I'm the big because you think you're the apex predator.
Right.
Now you hear
I'm really glad I had my encounter when I was younger, because had I went through that when I was an adult, it would have. I mean, I had time to adjust to it, but if I'd have went through that in my adult years, I'd have been more screwed up than I am already.
Yeah, I mean, it could definitely be a life-changing experience. I 100% agree. And y'all just see that too. Make sure you put September 14th on your calendar. DA is going to be on the show. They're really looking forward to it.
On the Three Beards podcast.
Three Beards podcast.
Okay, good. I didn't know you were getting it. I knew you were in contact with them. I didn't know you got on there. All right, good. Maybe good.
And I was going somewhere with my thought, and I got sidetracked.
It's the age, man. We know.
Yeah, it's the age.
I do.
Getting a little long in the tooth. No, when he said he highlighted that with the light, he immediately said he wished he hadn't. I mean, I can imagine not ever wishing he'd never seen that. As I know a guy that was a deer hunter that when he got his sighting, when he saw a Bigfoot like cross beneath his deer stand, he left and sold his deer hunting equipment. He hasn't deer hunted since. It's a mind altering thing for some people when they have these experiences. It completely changes how they view them. I mean, the guy left the law enforcement. I don't know if this was the catalyst that did it, but I would say it was a contributing factor.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, think about this, man. Y'all understand what I'm saying. From a very young age, we're taught to fear what's in the dark.
Mm-hmm.
Right, the uncanny valley,
the boogeyman.
Exactly. And if what is in the dark comes to light, that can be a hell of a thing right there, man. And like you said, that can be a life-changing experience. And he probably was like, I probably wish I'd have left that crap in the dark.
Yeah,
for sure.
But you also want, it's like me, I want answers. Like I want to go out and look more now than I ever did. Just to, confirm what I seen. It's just, I don't know what it is. I guess it's in us that we just have to go out and look. and find out more answers. But you know, don't get me wrong. I'm going to be like, I've been looking around me, but I mean, even when I used to hunt, even when I bought the property here in Florida, I had 4 acres, man. Even on my own property, and I knew the property, I would still get the heebie-jeebies walking out into the woods on my own property, and I knew I could see my house. You know, when you're up at a deer stand, you're like looking at every noise in the woods is like you're looking, you're like, you know. So
it's amplified. It's amplified. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll get to you. Of course it does. You don't forget shit like that. I mean,
No.
anybody that goes, well, you know, I thought about it when I was 13. I just put it behind me. No, not if you. I'm sorry. A traumatic experience like that. It wasn't traumatic. I mean, when I picked up the rifle and looked at it, one, I thought it was a joke. And then 2, I'm like thinking to myself, and I looked at my buddy and I was like, why would somebody be out here messing with us? I mean, it was the height of hunting season. Opening general rifle for hog and deer. Why would somebody be out there? And the only time I seen it, like I said to DA, is when it turned its head. It was so still, I didn't even notice it. When it turned its head, and I looked, I was like, what is that? And as soon as I zoomed in on it, you could see it. I mean, like I told DA what it looked like. It wasn't a mask. It wasn't a guy in a costume. It looked too human-like. It looked more Aboriginal, like Native American.
Yeah.
And then you could see right through the hair. It was hairy, but not hairy enough to where you couldn't see the muscle of the skin. You know, and it just walked away into the palmettos, man. And I was like, yeah, that was a little freaky. But like I said, everybody out there was used to it.
Yeah, and a costume's not going to show rippling muscles. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's the thing about it. And 2, like you said, somebody would have to have a death wish to go out in the woods on something like that. And
right.
You know,
it's like that joke when they say, "Hey, put," you know, when you're out deer hunting, and then I'm gonna take my mother-in-law hunting, and she's got a hoodie on with antlers, and she's walking around. You're not gonna do something that stupid and walk around out there in a costume.
Well, even when it's not hunting season, Missouri is a constitutional carry state. I guarantee you run into somebody in the woods, they're carrying a gun.
Well, even here in Florida, a lot of people carry in Florida. It's a lot of people, you know, and it's the same thing here, you know, where I am. We got all good old boys running around in the woods out here, man. So, no.
Same here. I mean,
it's stupid to do something like that.
Corey brings up a good point. Have any of y'all had one watching you through a hole from the other side of a thicket, sidestep out of view, and have another one sitting directly behind it? That one took me a minute to process.
I would imagine.
I'm sure
that would have been another oh shit moment.
I'm sure we have, but I mean, I'm sure I have being out in the woods so much, but I haven't seen it. You know, where there's one, there's more. That's how I look at it. So, you know, you see one alligator in the swamp, I guarantee you a foot away there's 2 more.
Yeah.
So, you know, there could have been more there when I seen mine in the wood line. I don't know. Could have been.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you know, one of the things I always worry about when I go out, especially if I'm going out to remote areas, and it's not just necessarily the dangerous animals; it's dangerous people. I mean, up in Dallas County, just right near the Cleve County line, just a few years ago, they arrested 2 guys who had been abducting and eating people.
Get the fuck out! Are you serious?
I'm dead serious. Look up Dallas County cannibal.
What is wrong with these fucking people?
Apparently, they've been doing it for years.
Well, I mean, not even the cannibals. I mean, that's a very extreme thing. But I mean, look how prevalent meth is in rural areas.
Oh God, yeah.
Even where I am,
you come upon somebody's meth operation, you know, or illegal grill operation. I mean, they're going to protect it. They're going to.
Me and a buddy of mine were driving in one of the gravel roads up in Laclede County, and we were just driving slow and looking at areas, looking for someplace to maybe go film for one of my videos. And I had the windows down as we were passing an area. I caught a good, strong scent of ammonia, and I just pulled into a little side area and turned around, started heading back. He's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "There's a meth lab around here, and I'm getting the hell out of here before we get shot at."
Yeah, we got them out here in the woods out in Cal Forest, man. There's meth labs out here that they deal with. So,
Robbie, what's your take on that one, man?
That brings back a lot of and listening to Anthony's part of it. It's so funny, the slightest little thing that you wouldn't think about bringing stuff like that back. Like, I know Anthony's got his triggers. Like I told DA that reading that one line in the book that just brought everything back. That side to side movement that he described in the book, which was just like, and I didn't realize that was my trigger or my tripping point until I read that book, and I was like, whoa. So, these experiences, like, even though I had it when I was so young, and like what I said a minute ago, I'm glad I had it when I was younger and I had time to adjust. It's like, Anthony said, you don't ever get over it. You don't ever.
No.
Right.
Yeah. You try to put it. It is.
Yeah.
DA, it's no different than the stuff we've seen and
right.
stuff you've seen.
Especially being in combat and you're being on,
you have to compartmentalize stuff like that to get by with it.
It becomes a part of you. It becomes a part of you, literally.
And that's what, people see us laughing and stuff, and they're like, well, why are they a bunch of dicks? But they don't realize that's how you have to deal with stuff like that.
You have to. You got to have a dry sense of humor sometimes about everything.
Yeah. And John Doe brings up a point we brought about on several shows as well. He said, I wonder how many illegal operations in the hidden places of the U.S. run into conflict with other hidden things. And
I've heard a few accounts of Bigfoot going after marijuana grows and hit one. They hit a meth lab.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would not be surprised. I mean,
Silver Fox. Yeah, Silver Foxtrot has an interesting comment. It says, I had one walk within 40 yards of me trailing a doe. I thought it was a huge hog until it stopped and stood up and looked right at me. Scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
You don't expect to see shit like that out in the woods or swamp, man.
Well, that's just it. You're out there hunting for deer or turkey or hogs or something like that, and you see something like that, and it completely changes your paradigm.
It makes you feel so little. What the fuck is that?
Nightbot's on it tonight. Somebody tried to post one of your comments and said, sorry, did I break your concentration? Blacklist spam. Nightbot is on it tonight. Wait, because I never even saw the comment.
It makes you feel it makes you feel little when you're looking at it. When you look at that thing, it makes you feel little. You're like, wow. If this thing's out there. What did he say? It's Anthony's friend. That is my point.
I told you. You mentioned it.
I know. I said, wow, it's not happening. Yeah. Moonshiners. Yeah, I've heard of that too.
Yeah, Miriam Nunn says, do the Southern Sasquatch drink moonshine? I don't know about the moonshine, but I've heard several stories about them eating the sour mash.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard that too.
You're welcome, Meg. Don't worry about it. Anytime.
If y'all look at videos of raccoons and squirrels and stuff getting liquored up on pumpkins and fermented pumpkins out in the pumpkin fields, I mean watermelons, whatever, I could see them doing that.
Budweiser, after they've used the hops and barley for the brewing process, they sell the used mash to farmers. Farmers all over the state of Missouri buy that out of St. Louis to feed to their cattle.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I learned that when I did the Budweiser tour several years ago.
Interesting.
Yeah, I seen that one YouTube video, that squirrel getting drunk off that pear. He ate that pear that was fermented on the friggin' thing standing up, and it's all, I don't know if you guys seen it. It's almost falling back. I'm like, man, that thing is drunker than hell.
Ralph Master 23 says, don't they say dogmen migrate and hunt an area for a while then move on? Could that be the reason for no deer sightings on my road up until a couple of years ago? Yeah, I would say something very similar to that. Look at the range of mountain lions. Mountain lions' range can be thousands of square acres. They'll make a big circuit, throughout out their home range. And for a much larger predator, I would say their migration pattern would be bigger. Probably explains why there's so many sightings down near Eminence, Missouri, because there are elk herds down there now.
Well, and let's look at this too, man. I mean, the prey animals like deer and elk and things like that, they're going to move where there's naturally less hunting pressure on them. My brother's got he's got 240 acres in between two 16th section hunting areas, and his land is just packed with deer and turkey and everything like that, because guess where they're not going to go? On the two areas outside of, they naturally know where they're getting hunted, where the pressure's coming from. And I would venture to say the same thing goes for if they're getting hunted by something else other than us.
No, it's true. They do that. They're very smart, man. When it can deer,
Oh yeah,
they know when it's hunting season and they skedat out of the area.
Mhm.
yes they
That's the
do.
truth.
It
Yes.
also, since the Black Plague of the 21st century, we've been seeing a lot more animals, especially large deer, in town, and that could account for a lot of the rise in cryptid sightings, because that would bring them closer to town too.
Well, hell, I mean, what was it? 2-3 weeks ago, DA? I was on the phone. I called you.
Mhm.
I walked outside. There was a friggin' black bear trying to get into the back of the pickup truck. Oh, the Ranger that we have had garbage in it because we got to go to the dump. I mean, I haven't seen a black bear around here in I can't tell you how long, since they started building everywhere. You know, out of nowhere, this thing standing there looking at me like, "Hey, man, what are you doing?"
Up in Boulder, just north of us, up in Boulder, Colorado, they've had a lot more black bear sightings, big cat sightings, things like that, since all that happened. You know, and the deer, because the deer are coming down, and they're getting hunted in town.
Yeah, it's the same here, man. So like when I had the property, I'm in northern Florida too, Silver Fox. So my property backed up to the Acado National Forest. So my 4 acres, my 4 acres ventured out into 1,000 acres. So
you have a big backyard, basically.
Yeah, when I hunted it, everything was coming in from there. When you put a feeder up, that, Doc, they'll come in. It just takes it takes time to get them used to it. And that's what I was doing. You get all sorts of, hell, I shot a turkey from my front porch.
Yeah, man, I mean,
coffee.
I've got a few acres out here in Colorado, and I mean, we've been seeing a lot of deer, antelope, elk, everything come through, and we live on the plains.
I know.
We live on the plains east of the Springs, and there's a lot of wildlife that come through. I mean, my pond is 110 yards. I've ranged it. I know it comes as a shock to y'all, but I've ranged it, and it's 100. I know, but I mean, I could literally take one of my guns with a can on it and pop something off my back deck. You know
what the funny thing is that Doc's not telling you? It's probably AR-500 knockdowns down by the lake that he shoots from his house. That's what he does.
I can neither confirm nor deny that, but
that's what I would do. Sorry, but
that's what I've done.
I need to find a guy with a plasma cutter, because I would like to make a set of steel plates that look like Bigfoot and Dogman and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, that'd be. You know what? I wouldn't say it on the air, but you just did. That would be a moneymaker right there, man.
Yeah, and make them scale size. Make them smaller scale. Like a half IPSC steel or something like that.
That would be a moneymaker. I mean, really.
I think that'd be awesome.
Well, there we go, off topic again. But I think it's a wise thing to say that these things do migrate in pressure to their natural predators.
Right.
Related to the pressure they feel, and so they're going to move to where they're not getting pressure anymore.
I'm sorry, I'm going to get off topic. Richie, I'm sorry, Doc. Richie's in. What do you say? I'm in Crystal River. Yeah, Crystal River is like maybe 25, 30 minutes from me, man, where I'm at. I used to go down there and fish all the time, Crystal River, man. I used to go down there and go fishing all the time. So I know where you're at, man. I know the area pretty well, Rich.
So, Anthony, you and I are, if I can link up with Northwood Cryptids in September, you want to link up in October when I come down to Florida to that area?
Yeah, I told you that. Yeah, I told you. When you're ready, man, we'll come down here and, if everything works out right, I'll have the new truck, the new 4-wheel drive by then.
Right on.
Everything will be pretty much on track, man. So, yeah.
All right, right on.
I told you, I'm even coming out to you. I'm coming out to Frog Skin when you come to Melbourne.
Okay, right on, man.
So I told you I was going to shoot out there. It's only like an hour drive for me. Now that's all it is.
Right on.
So,
Yeah, and Three Beards podcast made a good point too. More prey means more sightings of predators, whatever that may be, and I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, and that's probably why, like you'll see sightings or hear about sightings, and all of a sudden they're gone for a while, and then they come back, running that migration pattern.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely, where they're getting pressured, where they're not.
Mm-hmm.
Just real quick, folks. We've got 127 people watching, which is awesome.
Man.
We've got 71 likes on the YouTube video. If y'all don't mind, hit that like and subscribe button, share the video, because every like on that video increases our availability on YouTube. YouTube uses the number of likes and the number of views to determine how they market your video. So every like counts, folks. Hit that like button if you don't mind, please. We'd very much appreciate it.
Absolutely, that gives us more exposure, gives DA more exposure, and we just spread the word. So y'all hit that like and subscribe button, and we'd be much obliged if you did.
somebody asked what kind of steel that was. It is the steel for the plasma cutter. That steel is like AR-500 steel. It is hardened.
Pretty thick steel.
It's ballistic steel. It's very hardened steel.
Just make sure if you got your plates, if you're shooting on plates, make sure you have them angled down at the specific angle, things like that, because you don't want to catch any spall coming back on you, anything like that. Don't shoot rifle rounds any less than 25 yards, pistol rounds less than 10 yards, because otherwise you're catching the potential of getting some spall back on you. And I've witnessed and I have treated several spall injuries from people.
I've saw a guy doing zipper drills on steel, and I'm like, you better move back. And sure enough, 5 minutes later, we were taking a pair of needle nose and digging a piece of metal out of his face.
That's why they put that. Well, the AR-500 steel. That they put that. What is that? That bedliner coating on it. That
like a rhino lining type stuff.
That's what they coat it with. So when it does fall, it actually stops it. I've seen it when they were doing it. I was like, damn, that's pretty.
I would seriously like to find a way to do that. I think those would be great targets. Silver Foxtrot says they migrate. No doubt. I've seen them in November and December every year since then and bought a 450 Bushman. I don't blame you.
Smart man.
My point exactly.
Smart one. That's a smart
where he's up in northern Silver Fox. Where are you in northern Florida? Because I'm in northern Florida. Considered northern Florida.
All right.
Robbie, you want to hit the next one?
Yep.
Awesome.
All right. This one's from Minnesota, Otter Tail County. I'm sorry, not Otter Trail. The description is, I'll start off by saying that I have never believed in any of these sort of creatures, but I saw something in early 2009 that really disturbed me and is making me change my mind. I was not under the influence of any drugs.
Had to throw that in there.
Yeah.
I know.
We've never heard. Throw that out there right now.
Yeah, just throw it out there. I was not
high.
Yeah.
Man, these ain't even my pants. Never heard that one before, every day.
Oh, God. Yes.
Hey, I heard it yesterday.
I got in trouble by one of my lieutenants one time as I patted this guy down, and I found a baggie of a white powdery substance in his pocket. He's like, "These aren't my pants." So we were like, okay. So we took him into the back room and made him strip search. When he did the squat and cough, another bag fell out. I'm like, let me guess, it's not your ass.
Yeah.
And my captain's like, my lieutenant's like, you can't say that. I'm like, well, it's out of the bag now.
Yeah.
Yesterday, though, no lie, find a baggie in the watch pocket. Well, these are my brother's pants, and okay, dude, whatever.
Sorry, didn't mean to jump onto a tangent there.
Again, Doc, sorry.
There we go. It was worth it. It was definitely worth it.
Oh, I couldn't resist. I had to say.
These aren't my pants.
It's that sick and twisted humor that we've got. So
Yeah,
it always
I'm
comes
telling you,
back.
Yeah,
if
there you
if
go.
I had $1 for every time I got out of bed and put on someone else's pants and went out.
That shit happens to me all the time.
All the
I
time.
can't.
All the time. I mean, I threw on Angie's yoga pants the other day. I mean, I don't know what. I mean, it just happened.
There's an image I didn't need.
Yeah, and you don't realize it when you're in the store. You're like, "Holy shit! I got a yoga pants on." Wow. I know it happens to
I
me
got
with
too much
her.
boudin in that sausage casing.
Oh, I'm sorry. Getting the vapors.
All right, let's hear this story, Robbie.
Oh,
Sorry,
okay.
Robbie.
All right.
Sorry, Robbie.
That was my fault. I'm the one that started it. Okay, I was not under any influence of any drugs. Then I have better than average eyesight, and the lighting was nearing sunset, but I was still able to see clearly. So I'll get this underway and explain my story, and maybe someone can shed some light on this one for me. I live in Fergus Falls, Minnesota. I hope I pronounced that right. Sorry. About an hour drive from Fargo, North Dakota. My mother-in-law lives out in the country, about 3 to 4 miles out of Fergus Falls, and I was staying there while my wife and her mother went shopping in town. They called me and asked if I wanted to go to the movies around 7 p.m. So I left the house at about 6:30 to 6:45 to meet them at the theater, about 2 miles from their house on a county road known as the Wendell Road along the Minnesota or Mistinka, Mistinka
Your
river.
guess is as good as mine.
I saw 3 white-tailed deer. 2 of the deer were rather small, probably just yearlings, and a larger doe, who I assume was their mother. Me being an avid hunter, lover of wildlife, and future wildlife biologist, I stopped to take a look at the deer. I should also mention that I hunt the area and have spent my whole life in the Fergus Falls area. The deer were following a small creek bed, which is in the fact of the Mistinka River. That didn't make any sense, sorry. So there was hardly any trees except for one. Maybe because I didn't see it there because of the tree, but I just noticed something crouching behind the tree on my side of the road, looking at the deer and, to my belief, hunting them. It just sat there looking at the deer, taking no notice of me, even though I was in my truck no more than 40 yards away. With a clear view, with nothing obstructing my view of it, it had one hand on the tree that it was bracing itself with. What struck me as shocking was the fact that it seemed to be a 2-legged creature and not a 4-legged one. Its hands, in quotation marks, appeared to have opposable thumbs and were rather slender and long. Very unlike a wolf. The creature looked as though if it stood upright, it would be over 7 feet tall, with a protruding muzzle, broad shoulders, and a slender waist, thick muscular thighs, and being as there was no snow on the ground, I couldn't see the feet. He was deep, dark brown in color throughout the body, and after several seconds of looking at the creature in shock, the deer ran off. Then something amazing happened. It looked right at me, as though blaming me for losing his meal. He just sat there looking at me and blinking, but not moving. This scarred crap out of me.
I think it means scared the crap.
Yeah.
Again, those are just as they're written. I did not edit any of those.
So this scared the crap out of me. So I hit the gas pedal and drove off. It was very dark after the movie, so I didn't much feel like trudging through the 3.5 feet of snow with the possibility of a monster lurking in the area who is currently looking for me or for the meal that I scared off. So at about 10 a.m., I went back there and walked down to the tree. Under the tree, there was no snow and there were no tracks that I could see, but leading up to the tree, there were 3 tracks leading in my grandmother-in-law's field. Probably was his mother-in-law, not grandmother-in-law. Anyway, I digress. Grandmother-in-law's field, which was hard black dirt. And if you know anything about Minnesota, the field looks like in late winter, early spring, you can't make anything out of the dirt. The tracks I did find were only about 6 to 7 inches in length, but were clearly canine prints, with the exception of 4-toe looking marks in the snow.
Huh. Okay.
Man, that scarred the crap out of me.
Again, I did not fix anything. Those are exactly how they're written.
Oh, that one was better than the other one was brutal.
Hey, how many stories you have left, DA?
We are on page 11 of 30.
Oh, all right.
I've got a bunch.
Send me some, and I'll send some over to John to read because he's getting on a little bit. John can read his ever-loving ass off. I know that. So.
Okay, well, I'm going to do the next one, then I'll send you one.
All right.
This one comes from Wisconsin, Brown County, Wisconsin.
What the hell is Doc doing? What are you doing?
My dog is crop dusting me in here, man. He's got some GI going on, so I got to ask him out.
I see strange stuff making a face. I'm like, what is he doing?
Oh, Doc, your camera cut back on and all we saw us.
Yeah, you're like.
He's ruined, man. I don't know what to do with him. Oh, mighty.
Sorry.
He's got some GI jihad happening down there.
No.
Poor dog.
Lord have mercy. Bless his little heart, but man, he stinks. Got chemical warfare going on. I'm going to slip my gas mask on in a minute.
Gas.
No. Mighty. Alarm red. Oof. Going to Mach 4. Anyway,
Definitely.
Sorry.
No problem. Again, this was in Wisconsin, Brown County. So it happened in 2005 or 2006. Happened when I was 10 or 11. I'm just about to turn 20 now, but I'll never forget what happened that day. So I was at my grandparents' house who were watching me for the day. They live out in a mixture of farmland and woods in rural Wisconsin. Their yard is mostly surrounded by farmland, but to the right side of the yard is a couple acres of woods and a swamp. It was really hot, muggy morning in July. I was standing out on the deck shooting at some cans with my BB gun. All of a sudden, I got the sense that something was wrong. I felt like I was being watched and started scanning the tree line down to the edge of the trees about 60 yards away. It was near the swamp, and the swamp/woods was this thing standing that I can only describe as a dogman. It was about 7 feet tall, covered with shaggy gray hair, had the classic dogman face, long snout, pointed ears on top of the head, yellow eyes, and it was very muscular. It was standing on 2 legs, but it appeared to be sort of leaning up against a tree. That's exactly how the one I saw. It was this hand, and it was leaning against a tree. We locked eyes, and while it was probably only 10 seconds, it felt like hours. It sounds silly, but it felt like the thing had a sinister grin on its face. It was extremely intimidating. I know that had that thing wanted to kill me, it could have easily done it. I can relive this encounter at my age now with a shotgun. I could relive this encounter now at my age with a shotgun instead of a BB gun, and I'd still just be as terrified as I was then. It definitely had a very negative and sinister vibe to it. After locking eyes with the thing, it just bolted off on 2 legs through some of the swamp and emerged farther down the tree line and then ran off into the forest. At first, I thought it might have been one of my older cousins playing a joke on me who lived nearby, but then I realized there was no way they could have been wearing a suit and be 7 feet tall and clear the swamp as fast as they did. I was going to tell my grandma and grandpa that I saw a werewolf down by the swamp, but they never would have believed me. So I just kept my mouth shut and tried to carry on with my day. Well, later that afternoon, I was talking to my aunt, and she brought up the fact that she had heard strange noises the night before. When I asked her what they sounded like, she said it was a lot of snarling and growling, and it kind of sounded like an animal being attacked.
Interesting.
I can imagine, if you're saying a kid sitting out there with a BB gun, how that would be an oh shit butt puckering moment.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, and hearing the things, I mean, rummaging around, that's I mean, did they rile them up shooting the BB gun? I mean, at the cans or whatever.
Maybe that's what got it riled up.
Yeah.
But being in a rural area like that, and I know most people think of swamps, they think Louisiana, but there's swamps here in Missouri. It's just really, bottomland area that's flooded out.
There's swamps all over the place. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, swampy areas like that are just marshy areas that stay, like in a low floodplain that stay wet most of the time. So you'll have thick mud. And I can tell you from trying to chase a deer in an area like that, there is no moving quick through it.
No.
That, like I said, 100 yards from my house, there used to be, on his property, back behind it, there used to be a swamp. Just like you said, just a marshy, muddy, stinky area. I mean, there's a stink smell to it because that water sits there all the time. And
that brackish smell.
Yeah.
Hey y'all, I ain't trying to throw a wrench in the works, but look what George just posted.
Pennsylvania State Troopers switched channels.
Ooh.
I know we had secure channels that the scanners wouldn't pick up. It was the SWAT channels or emergency channels that occasionally they'd say switch from PAT 1 to SWAT 1 or something like that.
Yeah. Hey Richie, it's in World Bigfoot Radio. The Nightbot is catching those douchers that are coming in here trying to spam us.
Those porn spams. Yeah, I kept blocking them on the last show, and I guess Nightbot finally got the point. Like, hey, we need to start nailing these things. So good.
Yeah, freaking yeah, we're on it, man. It's just they're blocking it. So,
yeah, we were getting inundated with bots last week.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah, we're trying to weed all of them out.
And so hopefully Nightbot has got their number and is going after those spam bots because I blocked a bunch of them.
All right, got real quiet in here all of a sudden.
Yeah, nobody talk at once.
Got another one, PA?
Yeah, I sent one to Anthony, but I guess
John's coming on right now.
I'll go ahead and send that same one to Doc and let him read that. I'll send you another one, Anthony.
All right. Fire away.
It should be in your inbox now.
All right, there it is. I got it. Okay, here we go.
He should be jumping on.
That's a long one. All right, here we go. This is from Minnesota, St. Louis County. Oh, you betcha. September 1999. So first off, I would like to keep my name confidential. We can do that. Just for the fact that this happened on an Air Force base. And must be, I wonder if it's Minot. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. Why not Minot? And I don't know who reads this stuff. This happened sometime in September 99. I forget the exact date. It was early in the month, though. It was between 0200 and 0300. That's 2 and 3 a.m. for other folks. I was a security forces airman working third shift on base patrol. Now, mind you, this is an Air National Guard base, okay? So it's not Minot that I worked at full time. It's on the north side of Duluth, Minnesota, next to the International Airport. North to the northeast is nothing but large wooded areas, forest areas. Third shift on the base was pretty boring, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., and us full-timers worked as a skeleton crew, usually 5 to 6 of us on third shift. I was in a patrol truck doing my usual rounds, checking doors and fence lines late at night on the north side of the base was unusually creepy enough when patrolling by yourself. Anyways, I was on this road driving towards our baseball field when my headlights caught a pair of eyes reflecting back at me. They were almost eye level with me, and I was sitting in an F-150. All right. Around this time, a few of the guys had been seeing this huge buck around the property, like a 16-pointer or something around that size. I was about 80 yards or so when I saw those reflecting eyes back at me. So I'm thinking it was a big deer. I thought, I got to see this thing. So I hit the gas and started speeding towards the field. This is where it all happened so fast. It's almost hard to explain. There was a little slope behind the baseball field, and it sloped down probably 12 to 15 feet into a brush line. The brush went about 30 feet and then turned into a thick tree line. The brush was probably armpit high to me and pretty tough to traverse through, being so thick. As I turned into the baseball field and turned the truck towards the thing, I just caught the rear end of the thing leaping up the slope below the line of sight with my headlights. The thing was no more than 20 feet ahead of me when it leaped. All I got to look at was the back end of the thing, and it was big. The best thing I can do to describe it is say it was a wolf/dog-like in nature. It had a long tail, longer than 2 feet. The hind legs looked exactly like a dog's, same with the back paws, but the paws were huge. They were bigger than my hands for sure. The hair and fur was wavy yet matted and thick. The color was blondish or very light brown. I didn't notice any gray in it, but this all happened in about 2 to 3 seconds. I sat in my patrol truck for a couple of seconds, confused and thinking, I know what I saw, but it couldn't have been what I saw. So I hopped out with my flashlight, my M16 rifle, and walked to the edge of the slope. All I heard was a thing running through the woods in front of me, heading in the northwest direction. And this thing sounded like a moose charging through the trees. It made a lot of noise. That's when I started to get really scared, thinking, if this is some sort of wolf or whatever, it could be. My M16 isn't going to do a thing to this animal. So I jumped back in my truck as fast as I could and headed back to the security forces headquarters. I never told any of my other members about it for fear of ridicule or being called crazy, and there's no way I misidentified this thing. I'm a trained observer, an avid hunter, and have worked with animal rehabilitation and the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources in the past. I know the animals in the North Woods extremely well. I saw exactly what I saw, and that was the back end of this large wolf dog thing that basically had its eyes level with mine while I was in patrol truck. The back end was definitely much larger than any of the largest deer or black bears I've seen. The points I remember the clearest were the tail and the back paws, as well as the texture and color of the hair and fur. This is my story. I've never told it to anyone in fear of ridicule, and I swear it to be the truth. Wow.
Huh.
So another life-changing first encounter we just talked about.
And he basically said a 5.56. He was afraid it wouldn't do anything.
Oh,
That's a big animal.
Yeah. Honestly, let's think about this, man. Unless you got some kind of crew serve weapon, back then it was M60s, because I don't know if the National Guard units had 240s or not then, like we did. But that's a hell of a thing to see, and to realize that, hey, this 5.56 in my hands is not going to do a freaking thing to this thing except piss it off.
Well, if he was setting up in an F-150 that high off the ground and it was level with him, that's got to be, rough guess, I would say between 7 and 8 feet.
That's big. I'm
depending on the clearance of the truck.
Yeah, and I mean, up there in that area where it's wooded, like he said, the North Woods up there in Minnesota, that's interesting. And I'm wondering what color eye shine it was, because he just said he saw eye shine. What reports have y'all heard on the cryptid sightings from the dogmen or suspected dogmen, where it was, what color was the eye shine? Like, I know we talked about like the skunk ape and the swamp apes and all those things being, and the squash being like glowing like an orange red. Would they be the same color as as a coyote or a wolf?
I've heard a lot of the dogman sightings say that they were like a what's the word I'm looking for? A jaundiced yellow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or even a bright yellow.
Like a real
feral yellow. Yeah.
Okay.
I've heard feral yellow to amber-ish color to a reddish color.
Right.
Silver Foxtrot says that's a fact. I had a 308 and said no way.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, unless I got a lot of 308 in the form of 200 round belts, that's gonna be a hard no from me for sure.
Oh, there he is. There's the man in the hour.
Hey, Uncle John, what's happening, man?
Hey, John.
Well, how's it going, bud?
It's going all right, brother. How you doing?
He's not happy. He's not happy with me right now. So, oh well.
Did you hide his wig?
No, I didn't wake him up in time, so I let him sleep because we had a rough day today. So we both came home and paid. You guys were talking, he pops his head and he goes, "Why didn't you wake me up like you were supposed to?" And closes the door.
Hey, Anthony, And
What?
Anthony, why don't you be quiet and let the grown-ups talk?
That's Uncle John's nice way of saying kick rocks, nerd.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So Robert Sharp had a good point about dogmen. He said dogman eyes are only red when they're mad or threatened. He said, and then Robert Sharp said that Raph Master said his husky has two different eye shine colors and her brown and blue eyes. So I guess a brown eye versus a blue eye is going to have a different eye shine color. But
Yeah.
and Karen Peterson said she had a yellow gold color, kind of like what you're talking about, Robbie, with a kind of like an amberish color. That's interesting. I mean, and yeah, I mean, coming from a military background, the security forces dudes are going to be like, yeah, that's not going in any kind of report. I'll get an Article 15,
Or a psyche valve.
or a psyche valve. I'll lose my PRP. I won't be able to patrol anymore. None of that stuff. So yeah, I mean, and that's the thing about it.
There go the guns. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we're going to take these from you and put them in the and you need to go talk to the base psychiatrist because you're obviously nothing but. So
that's it. Go see the shrink.
Yeah, go see the shrink. I mean, and Robbie and DA and Anthony, all y'all. I mean, with the law enforcement background, I mean, why do people not report this stuff in those professional environments?
I think because they're afraid to.
Yeah, you put that in a report, your butt's going in on. One, you don't want to put that in an official report because you'll be, peeing in a cup. You'll get the random whiz quiz and be going to see the psych doc the next day. And two, the defense attorney ever gets a hold of a report with something like that in, they'll destroy your credibility on the witness stand, and then you're basically screwed.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if it's nationwide. I know in South Carolina, and I can't think of the what it's called. It's like, you got the Brady bill where, they can get anything pertaining to whatever case you're on. There's also another one where they can go back. It doesn't even matter if it's the case that's present that we're dealing with. They can go back and get anything that you've had your name assigned to from any department.
Well, most reports fall under the Freedom of Information Act. So,
yeah. So if you've ever put something like that in a report, and you're trying to win this DUI, and his attorney knows what he's doing, he goes back and gets a report from 15 years ago where you put that in. Oh, so tell me about the Bigfoot, officer. Huh? What?
Hey, Unc, I sent you a story that DA sent me. If you want to read it, it's on Messenger. We'll pop Messenger up.
I read that.
Huh?
I just read that.
The one I just sent you?
You just now sent it?
Yeah, on Messenger. Look at it.
I'm sure the one that Doc was reading.
Yeah, I sent you another one you can read on the show if you want. So
I'll be right back.
Yeah, I don't flop back and forth, but very good.
World Bigfoot Radio's got a good point. It says just like airline pilots who make UFO reports tend to lose their jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One, and even if it does get picked up, it's just going to get buried. I mean, if you put something in a report like that, odds are your lieutenant's going to call you in the office next day and go, yeah, you're going to.
your mic was all screwed up there. What'd you say?
Yeah, we didn't hear that.
Your mic was all muffled, DA.
Oh, you didn't hear me? Weird.
No.
Yeah.
Well, I generally don't have any issue with my mic.
Yeah, I thought it was my headset. That's why I was doing. That's what I was messing with.
I was messing with.
Can you hear me okay now?
Now you can, yeah. It sounded like you were in underwater when you were talking.
Weird. Huh.
It was Doc. He did it on purpose.
It sounded like it did the other night when you kicked your mic cable. So
yeah.
Maybe you kicked just enough to where it kind of messed it up while you were talking. But
everything seems okay. That's freaking weird. You guys hear me all right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. John, do you want to read that report, or do you want us to do it?
Oh, I got to go back and find it.
It should be right at the last one on Messenger.
Yeah, well, I'm not on Facebook anymore.
Uh-oh. Oh.
I was getting double feed. and I got voice with a lag on it, so I had
Yeah,
to
you
cut
just
it
have
off.
to mute it.
No, I don't have a separate unit. No.
No, you said you have to mute it.
Hang on, let me go back there and look.
What do you say? It was a 308 with 2,400 feet. This thing's moving too fast. I'm trying to read it. Yeah, I don't even think a 308 would do the job. Sorry.
Unless it's a lot of 308,
Yeah,
like all the 308.
I mean that one guy hit one with a 4570, and that did the trick. You know, but then you get stories where they're hitting them with 4570s and they're not even phasing these things. They're just falling down and getting up and running.
Well, I'm gonna tell you what. If anybody's using 4570 out there, they need to go check out Buffalo Bore ammo.
Oh yeah,
That's the heat right there, man.
yeah, that's some nasty rounds, man. You
Yeah.
get hit with one of those. That's
Yeah.
that's a hard cast. That's a
Yeah,
hard casting round.
hard cast lead. I mean, like for my 10 mil, I carry Underwood ammo, and this is a shame plug for those guys too. But I'm shooting a 200 grain bullet out of a 7-inch barrel, and it's cooking out around 1,325 feet per second, with a lot of energy. It's like a 41 mag.
Yeah.
So it definitely does a trick. So if anybody's out there in the woods doing this stuff seriously, go prepared. I mean, that's the best thing. Because DA and I talk about this all the time. Go prepared, not only with the firearms, but with, hey, let people know where you're going. Tell them when you're supposed to be back. Carry a sat phone or a Garmin InReach or a Spot satellite messenger, something like that. Carry a freaking med kit. You know, I mean, be prepared, because it may not be the cryptids that get you. You know, it may be, there you go. It may be something else that gets you. So you got to be prepared. I mean, all the good ammo in the world ain't going to matter when you're sitting there bleeding out from falling over and impaling yourself on a stick. You know, because you tripped over something in the dark. Because I mean, that's just life. That's the way it is. Miriam known what is good 45 long Colt ammo? Buffalo Bore. Miriam, go to Buffalo Bore, and that is that they make a good 45 long Colt round. I got a couple of Ruger Vaqueros that are 45 long Colt, and that's what I carry in them is Buffalo Bore. Make sure you get an old Vaquero, not a new Vaquero, because the new Vaqueros have a thinner top strap, and the chamber pressures exceed what they are for those, and it'll blow your gun up. That's bad, typically, in a bad thing.
Yeah,
we call that a kaboom. Yeah, we call that a kaboom. That's a bad thing. So, all right.
You guys hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Gotcha.
Okay, I can read this thing if you want me to.
Yeah, it has not been edited at all, so it may be a little tough to read in points.
I don't know. I thought you wanted me to read it out loud. If not, I'll
definitely.
read it.
Yeah, go ahead and read it out loud, unless you don't want to. And then we'll take care of it.
It doesn't matter. I can if you want. There we go. Kansas, Jackson County, 2 description, 9/13/2013. Before I say anything about my encounter, I just want to clarify that when I saw this thing, I went to Google and searched up what it was. I came across this website and found that another person in Jackson County had an encounter with something like this. So I know I'm not crazy. I'd been studying wolves and their behavior for about 3 years before I had this encounter. And I know that considering Jackson County is about 656 square miles, with a population of 674,158, and it being practically infested with wildlife such as deer, livestock, and predators such as coyotes and foxes, it wouldn't be likely for a large predator such as a wolf to be lurking in the sparse woodland. So The average wolf territory is 13 to 2,400 miles squared, and it'd be easy for such a huge creature to live in Jackson County alone. This may even be the very same dog, wolf, man thing that the other person saw. Anyway, on to the encounter. I was just chilling on the laptop in the living room, watching people blow stuff up when I felt like I had to go to the bathroom. I set the laptop down and put my headphones on the keyboard and got out of the chair. Let me clarify. I'm not a bloody psychic or a medium or anything, but I have a sort of sixth sense where I can tell if something is wrong, watching me, and I knew something was. We have a huge window on the wall just above the couch, and it was a particularly cold night, so the windows caught things like breath very well. I turned to the window, thinking that whatever it was watching me from there, and I knew I'd seen it, was we have a motion sensing floodlights, and it'd have to be either standing on something or tall as the devil himself in order to see into the window of our trailer. It was around 6 to 8 feet off the ground, with the top of it being about 11 feet. I looked over to the window, and the only thing I could see was the floodlights were on, and that something seemed to duck under the window, like a kid playing hide and seek. I didn't think anything of it, considering our neighbors were a sort of druggies and alcoholics, and even came to look in our windows. And every opening to the house was locked, so I had nothing to worry about. I went to the bathroom, and when I finished, I washed my hands and went back to the laptop. I noticed that the floodlights went out, so whatever it was gone. Not thinking anything else of it, I went back to watching people blow stuff up. I should mention also that my eyes are sharp enough to spot a bird about 50 feet away in a tree. So it's no surprise that when the floodlights came back on, I noticed immediately. I glanced up from the screen, expecting a drunken or high idiot to be looking in with a stupid expression on his face. But I was frozen by what I saw. It was a huge wolf that was looking at me with dirty, ambery yellow eyes. His ears looked like they were torn or cropped or something, and the face looked sort of human-like, not really a full human face, but more like the jawline looked very masculine and human compared to the rest of its face. Its lips were curled back, and it seemed as if it were snarling, though I couldn't hear if it was or not. And the breath caught on the cold glass. It was so tall that the top of its hexed head was halfway up the window. And if I had to guess how wide it was, I'd probably say maybe the width of my shoulders. I know that whatever it was, it most likely had wolfish instincts. So I did the only thing I knew to do, which was avoid contact and make yourself look as small as you could while having your throat and underside showing. This is a very common submissive position, and although I was scared out of my mind, I knew that holding eye contact would make me seem like a challenger, and running would make me seem like prey. When I did the submissive position, it must have worked for it to leave me alone, because it just hit the window, which made the entire trailer shake, and it went away. I hadn't heard or seen anything since, although I do hear the odd howl coming from the back roads. God help the poor idiot that decides to try and hunt this thing down. I could tell you now that whatever it was not friendly, because if it were, it wouldn't have slammed my window as hard as it had, and it would not have been growling like I'd taken its food. Although it practically did assault my window, I could understand why it was upset. I was on its territory after all, an intruder and possibly a threat to its existence and its prey. It's really just best to stay out of its way and respect it. After all, it is one of God's many strange creatures in the world.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's about it on that one.
See, that's about it on that one. Okay. Yeah, I don't know how. Yeah, seeing something like that looking through the window. Yeah, that would scare the living hell out of me too. Sorry, but
Yeah, I can vouch for that one.
Yeah.
well,
Right.
Looking in the windows only scare you.
That one, don't you, Robbie?
Yeah.
That's what you get for looking out the window.
yeah.
Should have kept watching the stuff blow up.
Did you get that email from Meg, DA?
Yes. Yeah, I think I've got it fixed. That's what I was looking at.
Oh, with the bots?
Yeah. You just read the one from Jackson County, Kansas, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure I was on the right story. What
Everybody.
do you guys think of that one?
That was pretty weird, but I don't know.
He a little close to home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what happened to you, right, Robbie? Or no?
Wasn't a window, but yeah, look at
Yeah.
get up and turn around and look, and it's looking in the screen door at you. Yeah.
Yeah, that would do it. Yeah.
Yeah, that would dirty your underwear.
Yeah, it'll mess your night up. When you're 8 years old, that'll mess your night up.
Oh, yeah.
Amen to that. Amen to that, Uncle John.
Oh, yeah. That's how old you were. That's right. I forgot about that. You were
Yeah.
8 when that happened.
Yeah. Back then, I would have thought it was some adult playing a trick, but
Yeah.
where I,
I mean,
came
you
from,
got
my kind of people, that's what the kind of tricks they played. So,
yeah. Doc started this whole revolution with ammo now on chat. Everybody's asking Doc,
Sorry, man.
what ammo to use and this and that.
Doc's the guy, man.
Hey, man, I've been around ballistic stuff for a long time and working up at a very significant
Significant other, yeah, I know, yeah.
company. That's given me a lot of good experience because we do a lot of ammo testing up there, and the ammo plant we have out in Arkansas has a lot of good ammo testing. So I get a lot of good information from those cats, and it's
Well, it's like you said, the 300 blackout, the 7.62 by 39. Those are all the 7.62 by 39 is a common round for the AK SAS.
I mean, ballistically superior. It's ballistically similar to 7.62 by 39. Okay, let's look at this.
It's a 30 caliber.
7.62 by 39. 7.62 is the diameter of the bullet. It's 30 caliber. 39 millimeters is the length of the casing. Okay, so you got to look at that. A 7.62 by 51, which is our 308, or our 7.62 by 51 NATO, is a longer casing, more power, more powder. And you look at a 30-06, that's 7.62 by 63. And you look at the 7.62 by 54 Russian or rimmed, which is what the Mosin, the Gant, the PKM, those cats, that's ballistically similar to a 30-06. 30-06 is still a good one, but we're still talking, elk-sized game. That's about the limit on that cartridge. A 300 Win Mag, something like that, going to extend it out a little bit more. So ballistics is, I mean, I'm definitely not an expert because, like DA always says, there are no true experts in this stuff. But I know a couple of things about a couple of things. But if you're out there and you're looking for cryptids with a 7.62 by 39, let's look at it from Americanized standards. Let's look at 30-30 Winchester. That's about the ballistic comparison we're going to get with that.
I was telling DA, even the 450 Bushmaster compared to the 458 SOCOM, the kinetic energy is totally different in those two rounds.
Yeah.
When you hit something with the 450 Bushmaster, I mean, I sent DA the ballistics on it. I couldn't believe the ballistics on a 16-inch barrel at 100 yards. What this thing was doing, I mean, it was splitting. It was like getting hit with a 50 caliber. It was splitting stuff in half. I mean, it was just.
Yeah, it's a nasty round. I mean, and the 458 SOCOM, the only thing going for it is its mass.
Yeah.
And so we've got to look at
solid core round.
Yeah. Look at kinetic energy. Let's look at physics. Let's look at science here. And you've got a lot more mass with that 458 SOCOM. and there's a lot of loads out there for both rounds. But that's the reason I chose a 458 SOCOM for my backcountry guns.
And they said it's equivalent to the 45. Well, they say it's equivalent to a 45-70.
Yeah,
When
I mean,
getting hurt with it.
either one of them, you got a big ass bullet going really fast, you know, and I wouldn't want to stand in front of either one of them. Believe me, I don't want to stand in front of UTM rounds. You know, Robbie, and you know what I'm talking about. If you're doing force on force stuff, I don't want to get in front of a UTM round or a sim round.
I don't want to stand in front of a paintball right now.
Exactly.
So the ones that I got, Doc, are 300 grain at 1,740 feet per second.
Right. And
that's gonna keep energy for a long way,
and inflict a lot of hydroshock when it hits.
Yep. That holds a lot of energy. Like I got a 338 Lapua Magnum, and I shoot 300 grain CNARs through it, and that has a lot of energy. Even out to 1,800 yards, you know, in excess of a mile, it still has a lot of energy.
So look at
ladder effect at the end.
Look at the gun. Look at the Guncrafter Industries 50 GI.
Yeah.
In ballistics test, that thing punched through 42 inches of ballistic gel.
Yeah,
that's
crazy. I mean that's what you got to think about with something that's thick muscle, thick skin, big bones, all that kind of stuff. You got to look at something that's going to give you a ballistic advantage over it. That's just it. So, yeah.
Yeah, shooting one with a 5.56 is probably like shooting it with a BB gun.
Yeah, it's just gonna piss it off. I mean, unless like that lady said, you hit it in the eyeball, you know, and you go into the cranial vault with that. So, but that's a rare thing. I want rounds on target, center mass, as many as I can. You know.
Yeah, as quick as you can.
Yeah, I want to create as many wound channels as I can with that stuff. So.
If you shoot at it with 5.56, you know, your best bet is to, like Dave taught in his book, go for arteries. You know,
hit the big clusters.
Hit the big major arteries, and just cause as much damage as you can to bleed out.
Hit it in the pelvic girdle. Hit it in the apple bag, man. I mean, I don't care what kind of critter you got. You hit it in a freaking coin purse. It's gonna go. If it's a male, it's gonna stop. It's gonna think about what it's fighting because it's got other problems to think about. So
yeah, it's going to ponder its existence at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, all right. So we got a DA said he sent me another story. So here we go. Y'all ready?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, Michigan, Ironwood, which I don't know that area, but Ironwood, Northwoods Cryptid. Maybe you know where that is. But Ironwood. Description. My sighting occurred sometime in the winter of 1992 when I was 10 years old. I've always been an insomniac and would often be up in the middle of the night. This was the case on the night in question. I was in my bedroom looking out the window on my ground floor of my childhood home. I looked across the street and my eyes landing on something that paralyzed me with fascination. Leaning against the big tree in my neighbor's yard was a massive gray bipedal dog or a wolf with huge muscular arms sniffing the air. He was just standing there sniffing the air. The image has been burned into my mind ever since. The way the steam of his breath swirled out of his nose as he craned his neck from side to side, the way the snow stuck to his gray bristling fur, and the way his ears twitched. At first, I told myself it was just a big dog leaning on the tree. I couldn't accept what my brain was screaming to me. There was this crazy feeling I had. I don't know how to explain it. I still feel it when I talk or think about it. It deeply disturbed me, and I swear I knew it was watching through the edge of my curtain. I don't know how I know that I just do. It never looked directly at me. It just sort of glanced at me in the direction of my house, but I swear I knew it was watching. It didn't seem to mind. It seemed to be pleased with a strange mixture of sinking fear, confusion, denial, and awe that I was experiencing. This dude needs to be a writer. That was pretty good. Again, I don't know how I know that. I just do. What happened next dispelled all of my denial. It sort of swung itself off of the tree, and instead of dropping down to all fours as one would expect a huge dog, it remained standing on its two legs, slightly hunched, and began to walk through the deep snow in the most unnatural way. I don't even know how to describe it as other than unnatural. It was just so wrong. The way it walked, for some reason, was the most terrifying aspect of the whole encounter to me. It just sort of lumbered off behind the houses, across the street, and out of sight. I didn't speak of this encounter for nearly 20 years after it happened, so he was like 30 years old before he told any about this. I had never heard anyone else speak of it locally in Ironwood, or anywhere else for that matter, and just chalked it up to another one of the absolutely insane things I've seen in my life that I never speak of, and made me question my sanity. Then one night, while listening to Ground Zero with Clyde Lewis, he was talking about the Michigan Dogman. My head almost exploded. I couldn't believe it. Other people had seen this thing. I finally broke my silence and I told my wife about it. It was sort of an epiphany I had in the moment. I no longer keep my strange experiences to myself anymore. I told everyone who I felt would be even slightly receptive to the idea of the paranormal about them. In my mind, I imagine how long I kept these strange secrets to myself for a fear of being seen as a lunatic, and how even I thought I was probably insane, and wondered how many other people out there are walking around with similar experiences and self-doubt, just waiting for someone to come along and share the strange tale that allows them to give themselves permission to speak freely about the things they have kept locked inside as I had. It's shocking how many people, once you tell them a story like this, have a story of some high strangeness of their own. I am so happy that this site exists and people like you are out there telling these strange stories and giving people the opening they need to re-examine the strangeness of their lives and the world in which they live them. That's pretty cool.
Story.
That's a very good story. That kind of reminds me. How you were 13, Robbie, when yours happened?
No, I was about 8.
8, okay.
7 or 8.
So even younger.
Yeah.
But that story has been indelibly marked into your brain since then.
And I can definitely, sympathize with the, not wanting to talk about it, but for, getting made fun of. And it's like, I've told DA in some of our private conversations that this right here, being able to get on with y'all, not maybe therapeutic. I hate the word liberating, but it's been so good to be able to come on and, as me and Anthony talked about it and said it every time, it's no fun to be crazy by yourself.
No, it isn't.
No, exactly. Well, you're surrounded by a bunch of crazy bastards here, that's for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, I live with one. I live with the crazy bastard, so I know.
You're in good company. You're in good company for sure. But I think honestly, just like, and I go back to
that remark.
What's that, John?
I said I represent that remark.
Exactly.
I knew he would.
It's kind of like how Fred had put it. He every time he tells a story, he relives it, but it's therapeutic to him, right. And he gets to tell his story so that other people understand, and other people at that point who have been hesitant to this point to tell their own experience with it may sit there and go, "Hey, man, you know what? I had something like that happen to me. Let me tell you what happened to me." And I think that's a good thing that people are opening up about this, because they realize I'm not insane. I'm not nuts. I'm surrounded by these other people in this big support group who will sit there and not for validation, but just to be able to be in a comfortable place to tell their story.
Yeah, without someone going, "Oh, you're a moron."
It's like John when John talks about Vietnam. Sometimes it's just me and him, and he'll sit down and we'll talk, and he won't tell anybody. Like, he'll talk to Doc about it, VA, Robbie. Now, he'll open up to you guys, but
I don't.
He's not going to come out in conversation and go, "Well, by the way, back in 71,
Oh yeah, we'll tell the fun stuff, sure.
But yeah, it's the same. It's the same concept with him, with his background and seeing what he's seen over there, and
If we told half the stuff we saw over there, would people think we were crazy too?
Right. So it's the same effect when you're telling a story and people don't want to believe you about what you're seeing as a cryptid.
Yeah.
They're going to
Absolutely.
think you're half nuts. So
Absolutely, 100%. And I think this is honestly, and Da, this is kudos to you. And again, not blowing sunshine up your kilt, but this is a great outlet, I think, for people to be able to get out there and tell their stories in an area where they don't feel there's going to be any reprisal against them. They can sit there. That's truly therapeutic.
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's there's other websites that do it too. I mean, yeah, there is. You know,
Absolutely. Thank you,
But-
Meg. Thank you,
Yeah,
Meg.
Meg.
We appreciate that.
Appreciate that, Meg.
good old Meg.
Here,
But
man.
and it's like I told you, Da, the other department that I worked at, I couldn't talk to even people that I worked with without getting made fun of, laughed at,
Right.
walking outside and seeing Bigfoot stickers stuck on my patrol car. And they're trying to be
Yeah.
funny, but at the same time, when they asked me about it and I opened up about it, take the, bear that scar basically,
Yeah.
and talk to them, and that's how you get repaid for it. That makes you not want to talk about it.
Right.
Right. Absolutely.
It's
And,
like a
and
stab,
to be
you know.
to be in an open forum where people can talk about this freely without fear of reprisal, man, that's therapeutic as hell.
Yeah.
That's a good thing for people instead of saying,
Oh, yeah.
"Oh no, you're crazy as hell. You're knucking futs. You don't need to tell anybody about this," and you push it down, and man, that's not good for you. That's not
And
good for anybody's soul.
I would
It's the
say,
same. It's the same. Oh, sorry, Robbie. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that since I've become friends with Da and the rest of you guys, and since I've been on here talking, I've actually told my story to a lot more people, like face to face, because I've been able to get it out here and talk about it and get that affirmation of, hey, you're not crazy, And I've been met with some people like, well, I don't know that I believe in it, but obviously you believe in it because this is what you saw, and
Right.
But before I got hooked up with y'all, I didn't tell anybody. My family knew about it, and I told a few people at that last department I worked at, and I got that reaction that I got. So you makes you want to clam up. You don't want to talk about it or
Right.
say anything.
Well,
It's-
yeah. Go ahead, Da. I'm sorry.
It's kind of the same thing. Like any of us that have had traumatic events in, be it military or law enforcement, when you're dealing with PTSD issues, it's one of those things when you bottle it up. And again, I'm wearing my 22 a day shirt. Just remember the 22 a day project, because people that have dealt with something very traumatic and seeing something like this can be a traumatic experience, because not only do you feel threatened by it, but it changes your worldview. And when you bottle that up, and just like Robbie was saying, when you can't really talk about it, that's when people really bottle things up like that, and it really affects them negatively. That's why I feel very passionate about the 22 a day program, because I know from personal experience, when I had my traumatic event, it wasn't until I did talk about it that I was able to work through it. And I had to see a counselor. I mean, after I got my head stomped in almost, and when I would go to put my duty belt on, my hands would just shake. And
Well, see, today you just mentioned 22 a day. Y'all keep my department and in mind. We had a former officer just found out today he killed himself yesterday.
Oh my God, I'm sorry, man.
Too bad.
That's horrible, man. I'm so sorry. And the thing is, people, you can never diminish or discount your feelings, because what you saw and what you feel is what you saw and what you feel. Those are yours and yours alone. That's a personal and private thing. And for people to diminish or discount those things, to me, that shows a level of empathy that's not there that should be.
Right. And also, what people need to bear in mind, officers see some of the worst in humanity. Not just bad people, but bad things. I knew a guy that had to pull a baby out of a wreck, and he was destroyed. I mean, it messed him up for a good long while.
That'll live with you forever, man. I mean, I remember. I mean, like I said, I've dealt with adults who have been, male, have been in bad situations, blown up, shot, whatever. And I still remember every single one of my pediatric calls because that's the stuff that sticks with you. And that's the ones that mess me up the most. But it's your feelings. It's what you see and what you feel, and nobody can take that away from you. And I think this is a great forum, honestly, for people to be able to talk about that openly. You know, just like Robbie. Robbie, tell me, has it not been therapeutic for you, man?
Oh yeah, yeah, without a doubt. I mean, you know, you go through. I went my whole life knowing what I saw. You know,
Yeah.
I've had plenty of people try to change my mind. Oh, you saw this. Oh, you saw that. It had to be this or it had to be that. You know, and I know what I saw. There's nobody that can tell me that what I saw was anything different than what I saw.
Right.
So you get to the point where, you know, you get tired of people either telling you, oh, you saw this or you saw that or whatever it is, or calling you crazy or saying that stuff don't exist, or you're just, you get to that point where you're just like, okay, fine, I'm not saying anything else.
Right.
You clam up and you push it down and bottle it in. And that's not healthy for anybody, man.
No, definitely not.
That's
when I came back. When I came back, we came back to a bunch of hippies and people that hated us. You know,
I had three brothers.
We had nobody to talk to, right? We had nobody to talk to, and they didn't know what PTSD was back then.
Yeah,
they didn't care.
My dad was in the Navy during Vietnam. He when he got off the airplane at the airport, some little hippie spit on him and called him a baby killer. And Dad wasn't even over there. He was in the Navy during it, but he didn't even go to Vietnam.
Right.
That just shows you how much they knew.
Yeah.
I mean,
we snuck back in. Me and a buddy of mine, we come out of the hospital in Tokyo. We had beards, long hair, half a uniform on, and we just strolled through the airport like we weren't even there out in California. And all these other guys were getting picked on. We just kind of strolled right on by, didn't salute any officers, didn't do anything, just kind of munched our way across. I was on crutches, and, you know. We got back without nothing really, but
but Uncle John, man, the things that you saw as a PJ and everything over there working on those Jolly Greens, I mean, that's stuff that's going to stick with you forever, man. Just like just like the stuff we've all seen. You know, we've absolutely seen humanity at its worst, and to discount what somebody has seen or felt is disingenuous at best.
Our cryptid predators wore black pajamas. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
so, I mean,
and we didn't get to go back on that damn Jolly Green all the way every time. So.
Right. I mean, and the fact that this guy had the courage, because that's what it is, had the courage to come out and tell his story to us. That's huge. I applaud him for that. And I think everybody should, because, you know, it's just like Robbie, who feels a lot more able to open up now. And Anthony's told his story a few times on here. And I think it's a vital part of the healing process to get through this stuff.
Yeah. Well, look how many wildlife officers. I mean, especially in Florida, there's two people that I know, somebody that knows two of them. John knows one of them, I think. Right, Uncle John? You used to hunt with one?
Oh, yeah. Jerry, we used to go out there at the peninsula of St. John's and Ocklawaha and St. John's Rivers over by Astor.
Yeah, I mean,
where he got his horse gored by a hog and came over, broke his leg, laid on him. They wanted to charge him, and we had to shoot it.
They don't want to talk about what they seen out there, because that's one, they'll lose their job. Two,
right?
There goes their pension and everything, because then they're going to the loony bin. I mean, even the forestry department, those two guys that hit one out here in Florida, they know what they hit. The guy's retired now. I mean, he still has his face blacked out and everything. He's all legit. His credentials check out. And he says it wasn't a bear that we hit. This thing had kneecaps, it had feet, it had hands, and they got approached by two guys from the government and said, "You hit a bear." No, we didn't. You hit a bear. And it was during, they had the wildfires out here back, I think it was back in the 80s or 90s.
Yeah,
And
when they
their
kill
job
all the
was-
orange trees.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Their job was to pick up all the animals that were dying from smoke inhalation that were coming out of the swamp and the forest. And they hit
Yeah.
this thing in a Dodge Ram truck driving the dirt road. They hit it. It was running across the road.
Yeah.
So,
But they're told by some dudes in black suits you didn't see what you saw,
Right.
and you.
so you know, you're going to get. That's why no one really wants to talk about what, you know. There's some people that have professional careers, like Robbie does, you know, and DA had, and, you know, it's, you don't want to talk about all this shit.
Absolutely. And I think DA, I hope your inbox keeps getting filled up with these stories, man, because I think this is absolutely vital to these people to get that information out there, man. You know, I really do.
And it's like what Cam said. Cam does the show. He does the same thing, and he's biased. He's very, very. He's never seen one. You know, like he said. What does he say, DA? He's not. He's not there to judge, or
Right.
he's not.
He just likes the stories. is what he
Right.
says all the time.
I guarantee you, if he's seen one, and he probably will one day, when he does see one, when he goes on these little trips that he does, it'll change his whole outlook when he tells the story.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
But
Well, I got a question for you fellas. Real quick question. We're at the 2.5 hour mark, and I've still got 9 pages of encounters.
I was just about to email you on that. I was about to text you on that, Diaz. I think this will be another good continuation for another episode.
Yeah, I've got plenty more, and I didn't even pull all of them. I just made a Word document of a bunch of them I thought were interesting, and I can grab a bunch more. We could do, if you guys want to do this again, we can
Absolutely.
continue this on Wednesday night, because like I said, we're at the 2.5 hour mark, and we generally wrap it up around 2. But I've got a lot of encounters left that we haven't even touched on.
Hell, we
Yeah,
still got
I think
115
that's a
people
great
in
idea,
the
man.
chat.
Yeah, we've had a great night of people joining us. We got 105 likes on the video, which is awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, folks. We're going to start wrapping things up. Like I said, we usually wrap up around the 2 hour mark, and I've still got a lot more encounters, so we'll probably do this again this coming week. I definitely want to get back into this more. I'm really enjoying doing this, where we not just it's not just like the shows where they record an encounter and they post the video. We're talking about we're reading the encounter as it was sent, and then discussing it and giving you guys the opportunity to discuss it with us live. So I'm really kind of enjoying doing this. It's something I'm probably going to do a lot more often. It seems to be very popular, and I'm definitely enjoying doing it. So, guys, if you guys don't have any objection, we'll probably do this again Wednesday night.
Yeah,
I'm good
I
with that.
think that'd be a fantastic idea. This is the great open forum like we've always talked about, man.
Right.
Yeah.
It works. Yeah.
I
Well,
like
folks, again, like Doc was saying, if you've had an event like this, if you want to share your encounter, reach out to us at DARoberts at DARoberts.net. Also, folks, if you know a first responder or you know someone that served in the military and you know they've had a traumatic event, reach out and check on them. The 22-a-day project is about, there's veteran suicide. On average, 22 veterans take their life every day. And that includes first responders. Robbie just mentioned one that happened with their department. Folks,
Yeah.
these first responders, these soldiers, EMS, nurses, firefighters, they see humanity at its worst moments. And I'm not just talking criminals. I'm talking horrific events. So just reach out and check on your friends that work in these fields, and let them know that they've got people that care about them, because believe me, they need to hear that once in a while. It'll definitely keep them going. And in cases like the guy in Robbie's department, it could have been prevented if somebody had saw the spiral that they were on.
Right.
There are signs. There are signs that people are on that kind of downward spiral. So just check on your friends that have been in the military, been in the first responders. You never know when your voice might be the one that gives them that hope, and they don't do it.
Yes.
Reach out to the 22-a-day project or the Valhalla project. Both of those are great charities that help with veterans and help with PTSD awareness. Just fantastic groups to deal with. And this is a cause that is very near and dear to me. Appreciate each and every one of you guys. Oh, Tombstone just gave us a super chat. Awesome, man. Thank you so much. I saw it pop up on Facebook. Appreciate you, man. Thank you very much.
Thank you much.
Way to go, Tombstone.
I enjoy doing these shows where we're reading these encounters, and we're going to do more of them. It is a little bit of a change in format for us, but we will still have people on as guests to talk. But I am really enjoying doing these encounter shows. So thank you, folks. Again, 22 a Day Project. Check out all my books over at daroberts.net. And appreciate each and every one of you guys joining with us, being with us tonight. Thank you guys that are talking in the chat, talking about your experiences. I know Steve Garza has mentioned some of his experiences. We've seen several other people that are talking about theirs. Yeah, definitely reach out to us. If you want to tell your story, if you want us to read the story on the air, or if you would like to come on and talk about your story.
You should get him on the show.
Yeah, if you reach out to me, man. Yeah. DARoberts at daroberts.net. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. And a quick shameless plug, if you are going to go out into the woods and you're going to do some dangerous stuff, be that hunting, fishing, camping, hiking, backpacking, look at this guy right here. These are the med kits.
Absolutely.
I carried one of Dark Angel's kits, one of Doc's kits throughout most of my law enforcement career.
You figure out which way to go.
And they're the best kits in the business. I would not have gone on duty without one of his trauma kits on, because odds are really good it was there for me. For one of the first responders to use it on me.
Absolutely.
So I carried one of those kits. I made sure everybody that I worked with knew where it was at and how to access it. Carry a kit. If you're going out, be safe. Tell people where you're going and when you expect to be back, because odds are good you're not going to get cell service out in the woods. If you don't have a sat phone, make sure you're letting somebody know where you're going to be and when you're going to be back. Take a med kit. Take something to defend yourself. Make sure you can stay hydrated, especially in this hot weather we've been having. Just be safe. And remember, if you do want a Dark Angel medical kit, go over to darkangelmedical.com and use this code. If you go to Dark Angel Medical and use the discount code Cryptid25, that'll get you 25% off your order, and that is the best code Doc currently has running. It beats any of their specials that they're running, and that is just for fans of this channel. And Doc, appreciate that. Appreciate you very much on that, brother. Cryptid25. If you put codename Wild Hunt or Team Odin in the comment section, you can get that little Team Odin rocker on your spear kit if you order one of those new spear kits, and they are badass. Just keep that in mind. Cryptid25 for 25% off on your order. And remember, that kit that you carry could just be the difference between life and death for you or for somebody you love.
Amen.
Doc, how many saves you guys got?
152, brother.
152 lives saved because of Dark Angel's kits. And to top it all off, Doc, what's the guarantee?
If you use one of our kits to save yourself or somebody else, you send what is unused, obviously, because that's gross. If you send the used stuff back to us, send what is unused back to us. We'll inspect it, make sure it's serviceable. We'll repack it along with the components that you used, absolutely 100% free of charge. Repack it, reseal it, send it back to you. That's called our Kit for Life guarantee, and I 100% stand behind that. There are just a couple of folks in our shop, including myself, and we stand behind everything we send out because we're packing birthdays in boxes.
Check this out, Doc. It says my spear kit should be at the house now. I have a Dark on the truck right now.
Heck yeah.
That is awesome.
And I packed it and sent you a note on there, David. So thank you, brother. I appreciate that, man.
Miriam Nunn says, DA, have you done a show yet about dogmen on the West Coast? I've actually just been concentrating on the Midwest right now, but I will pull some reports from all over the United States for the next show. I'll try to get some from both coasts and see what I can find and just kind of throw some random ones in there. The next two that were right up on the ones I had were in Arkansas, which were both pretty good accounts. But again, we'll do this again Wednesday night. We'll talk more about these encounters. And again, if you guys got encounters of your own, you'd like to share them, just let us know. We definitely appreciate each and every one of you guys. We had 108 likes on the YouTube video right now, and that is freaking awesome. Thank you guys so much. Anybody got anything else you want to add before we call it a night?
No, I just want to appreciate everybody who's shot with us and bought with us. You're supporting a very small owned business, man, and I appreciate it. And y'all just Stay safe out there, and don't be afraid to tell your story.
Exactly.
And again, reach out to
send
your,
us all a stack of hundreds about like that. Press tight, would you?
Yeah.
reach out to your friends that are first responders or ex-military.
Amen to
Again, you never know when your voice might be the thing that stops them from doing something tragic. And
If anybody's listening that won that $1 billion lottery, if you're listening, send it to DA and he'll split it up among all of us. Just a donation. That's all he asks.
yeah, that was awesome. Somebody won over $1 billion in the lottery. Holy crap.
They come home with about less than 600 million. But
Oh yeah.
Oh,
600 million. I wouldn't even cash in the ticket for 600 million. Come on.
yeah, throw it away.
now, is that the Florida one too combined? Is that
I
the,
think that was Powerball. Which is national.
yeah,
Yeah.
Florida and everything. The guy won it at where? Michigan?
I think that's where it was.
Man, well, God bless him. That's all I got to say.
He bought
Illinois.
a ticket at Illinois. Bought the ticket at a gas station.
Yeah.
Man, God bless him. That's
Nice.
all I got to say for that. Good on him.
Yeah. Well, folks, guys, Doc, Anthony, Robbie, John, Uncle John, thank you guys for being with us. Thanks for helping us read these stories, because I'm sure people get tired of hearing my voice after a little bit. So, plus, I'd get pretty raspy after a little bit.
After a while, yeah.
I appreciate each one of you guys, and everybody in the audience tonight. You guys are awesome. Thank you guys for joining us. It has been an awesome show. And Wednesday night we will do it again, and I will have a bunch more encounter stories to share with you all. And again, we'll talk about those and talk about the different encounters and just have a good old time. So thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for hitting that like and subscribe button. Please share this video and the channel with people you know that enjoy this kind of content. And if you like cryptid stories, which my books are works of fiction, but they're based on actual behaviors of cryptids, check out all my books over at daroberts.net. I would sure appreciate it. Thank you guys. I hope you guys have a wonderful night, and we will see you guys on Wednesday night. Good night, everybody.
Night,
everybody.
Right, y'all.
Thank you for joining us. Catch us again Wednesdays and Saturdays on DAX Machina. A special thanks to all our channel members and Patreon supporters. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe.